Hello and welcome to the SuperShow podcast, episode 100 and something. And I'm joined today by the best fellas that you could ever hope to run a podcast with. I am, of course, talking about Jamie Happy McCulloch and Alex Shooter Jones. If you get the reference, then you're a real G.
I presume we're talking about Jonesy's colourful history when it comes to American high schools.
Well,
wow.
I was going to say the American
strong.
ethnic class, but you're not wrong.
And for me, we're just talking about my attitude year round.
Wow.
Always happy and smiling.
Always happy. But yeah, do you know what the actual reference is, Jamie?
It's Happy Gilmore, right?
It is Happy Gilmore.
Shooter, what's his name? Shooter McGavin.
Shooter McGavin, because he eats pieces of shit like you for breakfast.
That's a good movie. Like Adam Sandler
I don't know
had
why.
one,
That is a
like,
good movie.
yeah, he had a moment.
Yeah, I don't know why
Shooter
that
McGavin
kind of like
steals it.
yeah
that dude playing a dick, he nails it. It's great.
yeah, but that line in particular just popped into my head fucking randomly today. Did you ever have that where just like you wouldn't think of something like a movie or a song or whatever, and it's just fucking a random quote just fucking squirrels its way in your head, and you're like, "Fuck, did that come from?"
Every damn day.
It's true. It's true.
You eat pieces of shit for breakfast?
It's a good line. It's a good line. It's an all-timer.
It is a good line. It's an all-timer. It's a good film. And this is a great podcast. So welcome. We are the Super Show. We occasionally talk about games in between lots of pointless, meaningless meandering. Alex Jones on the vino over there.
Ooh, it is Christmas.
El Vino did flow.
I've only got a little bit left, and then I've got a can of Pepsi. So there you go.
Oh, grim, dude.
Why don't mix them? A little bit. There's got to be a name for that.
Oh.
If Cheeky Vimto is port and Vimto,
Yeah.
then red wine and Pepsi's got to be something as well, like a crimson sparkle or something weird like that.
Crimson diarrhea. I don't know.
Kalimoto Exo, apparently, is a red wine and Coke.
Do you know what? You're in the ballpark.
So you're having a bit of a Kalimoto.
Kalimoto.
That sounds like the next villain from Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Or
It
a
does,
Kalimoto.
Kalimoto.
Kalimoko.
You're like a
Kalimoko.
Kalimoko at one of those restaurants where you go there and ask if you can have a Coke, and they say, "Is Pepsi okay?" And you say yes, when really you wanted a Coke.
They
But you have
always
to
do
settle.
that as well. Is Pepsi okay? Not really.
Not really. If Pepsi was okay, I would have fucking asked for a Pepsi.
I would have said
fucking
Pepsi,
degenerate.
not Coke.
Yeah, it's true.
Anyway, I'm ending the year on style.
I'm so jealous, bro. I wish I had a
Monster.
nice smooth
Pipeline
monster.
punch.
Do you know what? Can I go back to the? Can I go back to the Coke and Pepsi thing? Do you know what's worse than the "Is Pepsi okay?" When you say, "Can I have a lemonade?" and they go, "Is Sprite okay?" No, that's not lemonade.
So what is Sprite officially?
It's lemon and lime drink or whatever. It's not lemonade.
Yeah, it's like carbonated lemon and lime.
It's totally different.
Is 7-Up straight lemon, or is 7-Up lemon and lime as well?
Don't know.
I reckon 7-Up is one of those where it's like the American thing of like lemon flavor, but like lemon is spelled like, you know, like,
yes, I know what you mean.
Why?
like
Yeah.
cheese with a Z. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
it's lemonish, but it's not. It doesn't have the chemical makeup of lemon.
Contains
Legally.
real cheese.
Cheese.
Like,
Also, just looked it up, can confirm that 7-Up is also a lemon lime flavoured drink, which means that, and correct me if I'm wrong, like, what is the number one brand of just straight lemonade? Like, what is the leading lemonade provider in the world?
Just Schweppes lemonade, I think.
Is it actually Schweppes?
I think it is.
Oh,
Schweppes.
that's a pretty good shot, actually. Yeah, I'd say it's Schweppes.
Maybe.
It might have just been an excuse for Jonesy to say the word Schweppes, because isn't Schweppes one of the most entertaining words in the English language?
Pretty good. The thing that always gets me is like lemonade to us is like a carbonated, clear drink that doesn't taste of lemons. Yet if you're like an American, lemonade is a flat, cold lemon drink with sugar in it.
That you
Yeah,
buy
like-
from like 8-year-olds who are trying to like make money during the summer.
Yeah.
Or either that or it's
that's
used
a
as
trap.
it's used as the premise for like a porn film where
Well-
I watched one once where she, again, no children involved, but it was like a lemonade store.
Again?
Yeah, I believe it or not. And you would go up and you would buy lemonade, but there was actually like a fake hole in the sort of the curtain that was behind her, so she was getting fucked while she was serving lemonade.
That rings a bell. That rings a bell.
Yep.
Anyway, fellas, do you know what we're doing today on this podcast?
We're making lemonade.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not wrong, actually, Jonesy, because it's been a fucking shit year And we are taking all of those sour fucking lemons, putting a big old dose of SuperShow sugar all over it, and making some tasty, tasty lemonade, because this is the SuperShow Year in Review 2021, the best and worst of the year. And fellas, would it surprise you to hear that it's mostly worst?
That's the least surprising thing about this year I've maybe ever heard.
One of the best things about this year, though, is how mediocre it's been. Because if you have a mediocre year, then next year it can seem better by comparison. So, get some of that in there.
I think you're being quite kind to the year of our Lord 2021, calling it mediocre. It's been a pretty fucking shit year, dude.
Well, it's not been great.
And also, I can think of a few variants going around that are trying their damnedest to make sure that 2022 doesn't get off to the best of starts.
I'm saying it now. I'm writing off all the 20s. The 20s are done. The 20s are gone.
They've just started.
Just begun.
You're going to be 40 by the time the 20s are over.
Mate, I'll be nearly 50 by the time the 20s are over.
I was thinking about that the other day, Jamie, because Jonesy and I are so close in age, we are effectively the same age, off by a few months.
Yeah.
And you are I
28.
don't know, fucking 5 decades younger than us.
Feels like it sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to ask, don't you feel like a fucking weirdo?
Not really. Sometimes you do have to pinch yourself because there's a weird shift, isn't there, that you guys probably went through as well, where you're in school or university and everyone's your age or there or thereabouts, and then you're in an office and you're your best mate could be 30 years older than you. You guys aren't quite that far, but it's all been normalized for me now.
Yeah, fair enough. I always like to think that my mental age is very low.
We're all into the same shit. We laugh at the same jokes. We watch the same movies.
But does that make Jonesy and I younger, or does it make you just an old fart like us?
I think Jamie's in that zone of the 20s where he's old enough that he can appreciate older things, but he's not so young that it seems kind of weird that we hang out with him. If he was 22 and we were going out and people going, "Is he your kid?" No,
but hold on, didn't we go out with Jamie when he was 22?
But we were younger.
Yeah, I would have been 20 and you guys would have been 28, 9, 30.
Yeah, that would have been fine.
But one thing that I do think might be happening, and maybe this is just a change that you guys are on the precipice of that we'll discover in the years to come. But I think, there's that, claiming the pension and all those good things you got to look forward to in the next few years.
Colonoscopies.
Any day now, from what I imagine. And by the way, if you need a hand, I'm not licensed, but
I don't want a hand up there, buddy. It's the thinnest straw width kind of fucking thing.
We can work our way up,
we can wiggle it in there.
But what I was going to say is that, and maybe this probably more applies on an individual level rather than a societal level. But there's a part of me that wonders if living with and sort of growing up with the internet and having the immediate access and to all the resources you have that keep you guys in tune with games and with movies and with all that kind of stuff almost keeps you more in tune with the things that are happening that are relevant to people much, much younger than you, which keeps you younger in a way that didn't happen before. Because you guys are at the age now that my dad was when I was born, and your worlds apart, in terms of
yes, the worst.
No, but not in a bad way. I just mean you get kids more now. Because you haven't moved that far on from it.
I don't get kids.
No, but you do. If a kid came up to you and was like, "Can we talk about Fortnite?" You'd be like, "Yeah, let's talk about Fortnite." Whereas my dad couldn't have done that back in the day.
Yeah, fair. But then again, I guess that's just our interests, right?
Right.
I say it's the worst because it's that thing of being the prospect of being in your 40s and then, I don't know, going to a family barbecue and your mate's kid is like, "Oh, I play Fortnite," and you're like, "Oh yeah, me too," and they're like, "Oh, you sad 40-year-old fuck."
No, then you get to be the cool nerd.
Mate, you get to be Henry Cavill.
Yeah. Plus, you never find yourself in the situation that, again, my dad was in just this last week, whereas he was messaging me a lot, which is, oh shit, it's Christmas. I don't understand anything. What the fuck do I buy? All these things are so expensive and don't make any sense. What do you mean this one you can't put discs in? I thought you could put discs in all of them.
That's great. I don't understand this. That's great.
Yeah, that's cool.
There's a weird zone though that I feel like I'm in at the moment where my eldest is he's now 5 and he's starting to get to grips with kid stuff that I can kind of half laugh at the like, because I'm like a millennial, right? But like the Gen Z and the gen after that, I think it's weird because I can see that my kids' generation are already going to blow those guys out the water with the sort of mental shit that they have and experience on a daily basis from like online. And like my kid already watches streamers. He watches a kid stream games who plays a game called Red Bull 4. And he's like, oh, I love Red Bull 4. And he's like, oh, I've seen a streamer do this level. And he'll like play the little level. And I'm like, we're in for a fucking mental future because it's all downhill from here.
Look, the only hope is to maybe not the best word, but groom him to be an esports professional.
Maybe what did he play the other day? He was playing Sonic Run, and see, like I said, he just turned 5, and my experience of him playing games is often he plays games with me, and he's okay, but he couldn't go and play. Oh God, what's the radio controlled car thing with the ball and the Chris couldn't.
Rocket League.
Rocket League. Oh my God!
Wow, thanks. That's how you remember it. Chris couldn't hit the fucking ball. Thanks.
I love that description of Rocket League as well.
I'm like a aged dad who can't remember anything. He's all right with that, but he couldn't play like an online match, and he'd only hit the ball like a couple of times. He wouldn't be able to shoot.
But this is where you're failing the younger generation, Jonesy.
But he played Sonic Run, and and this is a year later, right? Since I saw him play Rocket League, he was on point. Like he was smashing it out of the park, and I was like, oh God. Like,
yeah, but Sonic Run, Jonesy, there's no money in that. It's not a fucking esport. This is what you got to do.
It's starting him off. It's starting him off in the gaming space.
You got to do the whole Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan, fucking your matey Lewis Hamilton. You need to be the dad who the son hates because the dad's like, you're going to be fucking racing, or you're going to be doing this, or you're going to be doing that for the rest of your life.
Do you know what? He wanted to play Slithario today, and we did play Slithario, and he was getting quite into it. And I said to him the other day, like, I was like, oh, would you like to stream games and like play online? He was like, yeah.
Get him started.
Interesting.
Get the youngest CSGO streamer. Or the youngest Valorant
He's not
streamer.
Playing that. Valorant, maybe.
But yeah, pop him on Valorant. There's no blood in Valorant. Just fucking go for it, man.
True. His reaction times are never going to get any faster. They're already going to get slower.
And look, I'm going to prep you now. Your son's going to hate you for about 10 years. And then about 10 years after that, he's really going to appreciate you. And when he starts winning those like big fucking numbers, he's going to buy your house.
Yeah, that's the hope, right? It's the hope.
It's the long game.
Hope that your child can buy you a house because you didn't work hard enough to buy one yourself.
Yeah, well, I blame the fucking boomers. There we go.
Yeah, they're easy to blame for everything. They're also going senile now or soon, so it's all good.
Oh, fuck yeah, it's bad. All right,
and then we get their houses.
Wow.
Yeah.
They're crumbling.
Boomer houses. And there's so many boomers. There'll be loads of boomer houses going.
Mm-hmm. Can you imagine the market? Oh, great.
Oh, bliss.
All right, fellas, listen. But we are apparently a gaming podcast that, we're available. Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts. You can watch us on YouTube. And you know what? Spotify sent me an email the other day saying, hey, people can now leave ratings.
Oh, shit.
On Spotify. So
cool.
not just an iTunes thing. So I'm gonna resurrect the old kind of tagline, a 5-star podcast, if ever there was one.
I'm gonna go and see if I can do it now on my phone.
Oh, in real time.
How in tune I am.
Quality.
In real
time.
You know what?
Speaking of real time, fellas, if you want to listen to us as if we were in real time, quasi real time, pseudo real time, then you can catch us on Paisley Radio. That's right, paisleyradio.com, Thursdays, 10 p.m. Repeats on, when was it? Mondays?
Monday.
I think that's new time. See, you're saying quasi time. I think that's new time. I think we don't need the old time that we're currently living in. It's all about online time. So that's where it's at.
Swatch time. Do you know what the swatch time is on that?
Oh shit! Is that where it's like all just one big number and it's like it just clicks forward and it's like everyone's on the same time zone? Because it's swatch time, baby.
Swatch time.
Sounds terrifying.
I can't review this podcast, Chris. You're feeding me lies and slander.
I got an email. Maybe they're drip feeding it. Okay, just check it out. Also, apparently, like they're going to roll out video on podcasts for Spotify. So probably
they already did for Rogan.
Yeah, well, that's why they have to do it because they keep buying video podcasts and they're like, oh shit.
Yeah. Oh, speaking on that, I don't know if I mentioned it, but Joe Rogan has been dethroned as the #1 podcast in the world. Do you know this?
Really? Oh God!
At least in the States. At least in the States and the UK.
I'm trying to think.
The two territories I care about.
Well, exactly, yeah.
I don't know.
Jamie's trying to look it up, but
I've seen something it could be.
Yeah.
But you guys would like it, but I don't know how niche or popular it is outside of that.
Yeah.
Is it? I'm surprised it's not like a true crime podcast.
It's not a true crime podcast. It's a comedy podcast, if anything.
Whoa.
Okay, in that case, I think I know what it is.
Yeah.
But only
is it
because
one I know? Is it one I've heard of?
Maybe. Well, you would have heard of them. I don't know if you would have heard that they've done a podcast.
Oh, okay, I don't know.
When you see it, you're like, "Oh, that makes perfect sense. Of course, they should have done this a long time ago."
Yeah.
That's probably.
Look, I'm going to say it now. In my mind, the biggest podcast in the world will always and will only ever be the Ricky Gervais podcast. So I don't care what comes after that. So it's fine.
That is an all-time classic, to be fair.
Yeah, fair enough.
I used to make my wife listen to that every day when we went to bed. I used to put it on a speaker and play it out, and she used to hate it. She hates Ricky Gervais's laugh so much because he cackles.
It is a bit ratty, isn't it?
Sorry, anyway, go on, Chris. What is the number one podcast?
The number one podcast is The Super Show. No, it's the Always Sunny podcast.
No way. That's amazing. I love that.
And you know what's nice about it? It's not like our fucking one where it's like 3 hours long. 30 minutes each one.
Oh, do you know what? Rob McElhenney, I'll be really glad if he becomes a billionaire off the back of that, and the others will get loads of dosh out of it.
Yeah,
they're a funny bunch of guys.
They are a funny bunch, and yeah, like Jamie says, like when you think about it, it's like, oh yeah, that fucking makes perfect sense. Of course they should. I'm just surprised that they kind of like they haven't been going for very long, and they fucking shot up to the top. Like it's incredible.
I was just looking through the names of the episodes of their podcast, and I was unaware that it was them doing a sort of a retrospective on the show, and I'm guessing looking back on certain episodes and talking about them.
Yeah.
So I thought the names of the episodes of the podcast were references to the contents of the podcast, apropos of nothing. So I was like, hang on a second, like, Charlie wants an abortion? The gang goes jihad? Like, they sound like they're rivaling us for cancelableness.
Yeah. But what's interesting is that, they're doing one of those things where it's like this fad of watch-along podcasts where they don't actually watch along, but they watch the episode and then they comment on it. Except, of course, they do what we do and they just fucking meander so much that they hardly ever talk about the episode that they were mentioning.
Okay.
It's a good podcast.
Maybe they're secret watchers of the Super Show and they've learned from us and they thought they'd give it a try.
Well, Jonesy, I'd caution to say that they aren't for one reason and one reason only. And that is our Patreon. Patreon.com/Super Show does not include Charlie Day, Rob McElhenney, and Glenn Howerton, unfortunately. Nor Danny DeVito, which is a personal slight, I find. But, there we go.
It's the real crime.
It's almost like if you had to take me and Jamie and kind of take our genes and clone them, you'd get Danny DeVito.
I love that idea. I don't think I'll ever be as funny or as clever as he is, though. He also just seems like a reasonably good dude, as well as being like he fits in with that group, and yet he also like directed Matilda. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's layers.
He also doesn't age.
Oh, he?
No,
I think I know what
he was in Romancing the Stone. Like when I was a kid, he was already a middle-aged man in movies, and now he's still a middle-aged guy making like a TV show, and he hasn't aged. He's kind of like Morgan Freeman, in that Morgan Freeman has always been like an older guy my whole life, no matter how long I'm alive.
Or like George Clooney. Young. He's always been that like grey-haired dude, even though he hasn't. George Clooney hasn't, because I remember when he was on the
ER
show. It was ER, and he was quite young, like dark guy. See, I remember the crossover, but some actors or actresses they just never
like Leslie Nielsen.
Judi Dench has been like that old forever. She's never been young.
Just came out of the womb with like a fucking pacemaker.
You know what? You're actually right. Like, what does a young Judi Dench look like?
Exactly.
I've got no idea.
You can't think of it because it doesn't exist.
She's looked like an old bag for about 70 years.
This is the thing.
Can I tell you the interesting thing about Judi Dench? Dame Judi Dench. I mean,
the Dame.
That B word isn't a Patreon either. But you know who are patrons of this lovely show?
Tell us.
I'm, of course, talking about Aaron Cameron, Athletic Gravy, Dark Silhouette, episode 85, 33 minutes, 20 seconds. It took 15 weeks for someone to get the joke. Thank you, Peter. Jesper Camdal Nielsen, Javela Cujo, Leo Merger, Magic Grits, Mindful Pig, Mr. Anthropic, Nathan Pierce, Pastors Guild, Scary Omen, Starfall Kid, Zach Cream. and the big boys, fellas, the guys that keep the big cogs turning, all right? Because you all know that if the big cogs break down, then the wheels fall off. And I am, of course, talking about Brett Z, Doppler, Geometric Potter, Hacksaw Book Reed, Manuel, Manly Manscaped Man Guerrero, Peaswad, and The Uncaged. Thanks for not changing your name. So we'll leave that for
practicing.
We'll leave that for Jonesy. He's been practicing. Don't spoil it. Wait until your hosting duties. But yes, thank you, each and every one of you. You do keep the lights on, the cameras rolling, like analog cameras. That's how we record this. And then we take the Patreon money, we go to a Telecine lab, and we transfer from celluloid to digital. Then we take those digital tapes to the CAR room, the central apparatus room, and we transfer those into a digital file format, which then gets FTP'd to us directly to our homes. Then we transfer it back onto celluloid, edit them on our Steinbecks, send them back to the Telecine lab. And, what I'm saying is it's a process, and thank you. You are helping that process move along smoothly. So I do appreciate that. But hey, you know what?
If only there was a quicker way to do it.
If only.
Yeah, imagine.
But that being said, these guys, they're helping us out, but we're helping them as well, because we are giving them loads more entertainment on our Patreon with our Patreon exclusive podcasts, shows, behind the scenes, Discord server access for as little as $2, and those extra podcasts that I mentioned, they're behind a $5 paywall, baby, because dollar bills. It's the year 2021, and we've got to get paid, son.
I mean, technically true, yes.
Yeah. We've also been putting up some 6 lists. There's a nice little Christmas treat, which has been getting early access on the Patreon. So go on over, pledge your support, enjoy the 6 lists. There is another one going to be dropping on the SuperShow channel for everybody, regardless of pledge status, coming soon. And there will be another one dropping on early access to the Patreon, probably, what fellas, between Christmas and New Year's?
Yeah, probably Boxing Day sort of time around then. Yeah. The day after.
Yeah.
So be sure to check that out. And hey, the more support we get, the more we'll consider doing more 6 lists.
the more we won't have to work proper jobs to pay bills in order to make more content. So yeah.
Man, I don't know about you guys, but I keep on getting the fucking. It's that stupid thing, right? When I was unemployed and I had all the fucking time in the world and I didn't do anything, and now that I've got no time, I'm like, I should do something about that.
Yeah.
I want to make content. To be fair, I did start streaming though, so
yeah.
fuck it.
And there's nothing like making content for someone else that reminds you how much you'd rather be making content for yourself.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh man, imagine if I could close this project and open the 6 list and do some work on that. And it's video games, it's stuff I like, and it's us, and it's fun. But I've got to do something else. I've got to do my job.
Man.
But, it made me more... I'll be honest, I liked the idea of doing some 6 lists for the folks at home as something of a Christmas treat and letting the patrons get early access to it. But I think you guys both know that in the past, especially immediately post-ATG, there was a little bit of 6 list reluctance just because we did so many of them for so long on that channel.
I mean, I think you're being kind that, we unanimously said, we don't want to touch another 6 list for as long as we live because, we just, as you said, fatigued.
But doing that recording session, then coming back and listening to what we did and cutting stuff down and the jokes we could keep in, the jokes we had to cut and figure out if we could even let patrons have them. There's some fun stuff.
It's like slipping into an old pair of jeans, right? It's just like,
it's weird. Even remembering when to say my name, sandwiched nestled sweetly between you two.
Oh yeah, between the cheeks.
Between the cheeks.
Yeah, it was good. And I think a good enough time had passed for us to actually enjoy it and want to continue doing it.
For sure.
I really enjoyed doing it. I thought it was a cool experience. But like you said, even if it was maybe a year ago, I would have been like, no thanks.
Yeah.
I'm all right.
Yeah. Fellas, what I've realized is 2021 is the year of trauma. All right. And we had to get over the trauma of 6 lists in order to kind of come back to it.
Yeah.
Right. But hey, you know what? Speaking of trauma, should we just jump straight into the year of 2021, see what's been going on?
Let's see what happens.
So this is what's going to happen, fellas. We're going to break it down month by month, okay? I don't know if you know this, but it's January, February, then March, April, May. It's a bit fuzzy. November, December. There we go. Okay.
Gotcha.
We're going to be talking about the games and the stuff happening in the industry. And I don't know. I'm sure there's a drinking game in here somewhere. Probably how many times we fucking shake our heads at the shit that's been going on. How many times games have been delayed.
every
how many bad releases.
Every time Activision Blizzard do something shady, you have to take a drink.
Yeah. Every time Bobby Kotick threatens to kill someone, you got to take a shot. So get ready to get drunk, everybody.
Or every time you hear the word delayed, do a shot.
Jesus Christ. All right, fellas. January, okay? So this... We came into the year with such high hopes, didn't we?
Yeah.
Actually,
Did we?
No, actually we didn't. Thinking of it, because we've just come out of the massive disappointment that was Cyberpunk.
Yep.
Yes.
Cyberpunk was disappointing. The console launches had been and gone, and people still couldn't buy them. And here in the UK, we had just gone back into, as of about 2 weeks prior, a lockdown that would last months. So,
oh God, it did. It lasted like 4 months or 3 months.
Yeah, like all of January and February, we were completely. I had Christmas and my birthday alone in my bedroom that year.
Oh, that's brutal.
That's pretty sad. Yeah, it's
these things happen.
Pretty sad. But yeah, fellas, like, so January was like, you know, I guess you could say we might have been hopeful in saying like, you know, let's hope it wasn't as bad as 2020, but oh well, fuck me. Anyway, we did at least have some games starting to trickle out. We had Hitman 3 and The Medium, the Bloober team kind of, you know, their take on psychological horror, whatever it is. But Hitman 3, great game.
Yeah. I want to give some props to Hitman 3 because as we got to the end of the year, it kind of like didn't get that much buzz for Game of the Year stuff, and it wasn't really being known. Like at the Game Awards, there wasn't much Hitman 3 chatter. But like Hitman 3 was a game that didn't really do anything wrong, and it actually really nicely wrapped up that trilogy. And I'm glad Hitman 3 happened this year.
Do you know what Hitman 3 did for me? It made me play Hitman 1 and 2. And I really liked them because I'd never finished them, and I went back and did. And then I was like, okay, I need to play Hitman 3. Still haven't.
Yeah.
Still haven't played Hitman 3. But,
wow, okay.
Maybe.
I didn't realize that. Well, there we go. That is the most Jonesy thing that you're going to fucking get out of this.
Well, because then I realized I had Hitman 1 and 2, and I'd gotten them both for free from Warner Brothers, and just I'd played some of Hitman 1, never really got into like Hitman 2. And I was like, then I finished Hitman 1 inside of like a week after, you know, Hitman 3 getting released. Because I was like, I can't buy Hitman 3 having not finished 1 and not played 2. That doesn't make any sense.
Hang on, there's some fucking major bullshit here. Hitman, a game that is fundamentally, and in the case of Hitman 1, was literally episodic, meaning that like you can almost approach levels in any order, and that content is meant to be accessed pretty, in a free-flowing way. You wanted to do that one in a strict 1, 2, 3 order, but when you realised you really liked Mass Effect 3, you went back to Mass Effect 2, and you skipped Mass Effect 1, which is so important.
Because when I did that, the consensus was that Mass Effect 1 is a real slog in the days of Mass Effect 3 because it is aged badly and it was not something you want to really like delve into.
Yeah,
so I took the hit.
Well,
I thought I didn't want to play that. Whereas Hitman, at least Hitman 1 and Hitman 2, almost feel like they're the same engine almost like as Hitman 3. Like I don't know if they are, but they look.
They are now. Yeah, if you own the Hitman 3 launcher, it runs all the old levels in it.
Yeah,
because that was the weird thing. Because when I started playing Hitman 1 again, then you get the thing where if you install Hitman 2, it already loads all of Hitman 1 into it, so you can play all the games and you get the DLCs. And it was like, oh, okay, I can just sort of play all of these things together. And but then by the time I'd finished, I think I finished 2, or I got very close to finishing 2. It was like I was so Hitmaned out. I need a break before I go to 3, and I haven't gone to 3 yet.
Yeah, fuck. And those like just
phenomenal games.
Stepping into the fucking time machine. Those ATG streams that we did of Hitman were fucking so class. They weren't streams. They were Let's Plays, weren't they? Yeah, they were Let's Plays.
Yeah, putting that guy in the wood chipper and just seeing the blood come out and standing in front of it, bathing in the blood.
Yeah, that was good, man. It was good. But yeah, that's January. It wasn't just about those 2 fucking games, because EA's exclusive license of Star Wars games was terminated in January, or terminated,
Thank
probably
God.
just like expired. They still making Star Wars games, but Ubisoft and Massive Entertainment announced that they had titles in the works, and of course we know what Ubisoft's not Ubisoft. Oh God, do we know any of those? No, we don't.
The Ubisoft, the Massive thing is the same. Is one game. Massive
right, okay.
Division.
But we still don't know what it
team.
is.
We don't know what it is.
Yeah.
All we know is that that game, Avatar, and now Splinter Cell are all going to run in the Snowdrop engine.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, we know that Zynga have creating a mobile kind of like brawler in Star Wars Hunters, which is funny.
I thought you were talking about a KFC burger for a second there. I got excited.
A Zynga, yeah. And funnily enough, I interviewed for the company that's making it, and I got pretty far, but I didn't get the job, so fuck them. And of course, Quantic Dream, we now know, are working on Star Wars Eclipse, but we'll, that's a further down the line kind of thing, fellas. But yeah, I think it's fair to say that it's probably good that Star Wars is out of EA's soul clutches, but not necessarily a bad thing that EA are still working on some Star Wars games, because there could be potential there.
Yeah. They earned the right to make a Jedi Fallen Order 2. And I don't think the cancellation or lack of a Battlefront 3 is a disaster, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. Like, how much... Like, they've added so much to fucking Battlefront 2. Like, come on. Like, you don't need to kind of fucking relaunch that. But that kind of leads into a bigger thing in terms of, like, Star Wars and in turn, Lucasfilm's games, because they were reestablished, which is fucking amazing. When I heard that news, the first thing I thought about was point and click, baby. Of course, it's never going to fucking happen. But what is happening, lovingly, it's like the best fucking thing ever, was we got treated to a nice little teaser trailer in January of Bethesda and Machine Games' Indiana Jones.
That still stresses me out. Like, what is that going to be?
Stresses him out. I love that.
I love it, yeah.
Because I'm so excited. And at
Jonesy,
the same time,
Jonesy
I know
can't go to
it's
sleep at night because he's like, oh, what's going to happen?
And every time someone talks about that game, I'm like, it's either going to be one of the best games ever, or it's going to be like crap. And I'm just, there's nothing in the middle for me there. It's got to be phenomenal. Like, come on,
man.
It's an Indiana
I think
Jones
it'll be
game.
Cool. Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah. I think it'll be cool.
The last Indiana Jones game I played was the Search for Atlantis one. And it
Oh
was
my
about
God.
15 floppy disks.
Jesus.
Little point and click adventure back in the day.
Well, that's what this is going to be. They kind of threw us off by saying Machine Games. You're like, oh yeah, Wolfenstein, Nazis, yeah, cool. No, it's actually just a point and click adventure game. So
big time.
I'd be up for that. But yeah, it's kind of weird that we still haven't heard anything since then, right? Like, I know they obviously were like, oh, it's fucking early days, we're working on it. But you would have thought, like, if they had enough foresight to kind of like announce it with a trailer that like had quite a few things going for it, some kind of like Easter eggs, if you would, that they'd have something.
Yeah, especially stressful for someone that now has their hopes and dreams of a Wolfenstein 3 left in the balance. I just don't know which way things are going to go. So I hope.
Wow. So actually, what you're saying is you have more of a reason to be stressed out by this game than Jonesy does.
Arguably, I haven't killed Hitler yet. I know he's dead because they made that stupid fucking spin-off game.
Yeah.
But I haven't killed him. So.
But you know what? Indiana Jones was against Hitler, and and BJ is against Hitler.
It all makes sense.
I'm thinking that those two games are going to be one and the same.
Or what? Yeah. What if it's a bait and switch? What if you like Indiana Jones meets up with BJ Blazkowicz?
Yep.
I love it. I'm on board.
They both kill Hitler together.
I like it. I think it's punchy, but it's doable. All right, fellas. Then, of course, like we were talking about Cyberpunk and CD Projekt Red. It's kind of weird to think, but it was in January of this year that we got the first kind of acknowledgement from CD Projekt Red that, like, yeah, this game was kind of balked out the gate, and that's where we got what was the dude's name, like Masin or some shit, and he came out standing there looking really fucking sad and like. We're so sorry that we fucking lied to your face.
Yeah.
So,
go on, Jonesy.
I was gonna say it was so opposite to like the all the stuff that they've been putting out in the month previous, where it was all the hype building for Cyberpunk. And
what was it like? Night City Radio or some shit? And
Night City Wire.
Night City Wire, yeah.
Yeah, and then there's the counterpoint to like them just standing there like, we're so sorry, we've completely screwed this up. It's actually kind of ironic in a sense that we're talking about this now because, of course, I think it was last week that CD Projekt have settled the lawsuit with the class action lawsuit that
Right.
was they were getting done over from all the investors who said that they sort of lied about where the game was at and everything. I want to say they settled for like $1.5 million. I think it was something like that.
Yeah,
It wasn't
like,
that much money.
No, it's
No,
like
it's not that
nothing
much.
in the grand scheme. And
Compared to
especially
8 million units sold of Cyberpunk, like Jesus, or 10 million, I think it was by the end of by a few months in. So
yeah, it's fucking mental.
it's not a
Like,
lot.
but you know what? Fair play to CD Projekt Red. They doing a lot more than okay. Well, we don't know if they're doing a lot more because they're fucking trickling it out. But they have updated the game. They've made it a lot more stable, and they have promised like a lot more future content. To be fair, they did push and delay the next gen patches, but they very very easily could have just kind of written off the loss. So fair play to them. I thought they would. I thought they'd get to the end of 2021 and be like, yeah, well, that's it. Fuck you guys. It's broken. We can't fix it. Let's just move on.
That would have been brutal.
Well, stranger things have fucking happened. Like people promise things, they get some backlash, and then they just kind of go back on it. Much like Xbox scrapped controversial plans to increase Xbox Live Gold. Like there's, I think they wanted to fold in Games Pass in it, and kind of like I think their thinking was, hey, let's just streamline what we've got. But then again, it's like, yeah, but like you're just taking away consumer choice, I guess. So they got a lot of backlash from that. And then they completely went back on it. So fair play to Microsoft and Xbox. And not only did they go back on it, but they also unlocked the ability to play online free-to-play titles without needing Xbox Live Gold. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. It'd be interesting. I wonder, I don't think I've made that much of a record of them in this year in review, but how many stories there were this year of fan backlash working. Like, was the Snyder Cut this year or last year? That's one of the. It was this year. Okay, I've lost track of some
I think,
things.
dude. Yeah, like I'm
I believe you. It's December, so I fully believe the Snyder Cut was this year. But yeah, and now in the after the release of Spider-Man, there's some people are trying to get what's the guy's name? Andrew Garfield's Amazing Spider-Man 3 off the ground. It's God. You motherfuckers did not watch those first two films if you're sharing that hashtag. But then again, Batman
that's the fucking
Superman
nostalgia bait, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was there was a Ubisoft story which we'll talk about a little bit later. But there was also Dying Light 2 adding NFTs and metaverse kind of integration, and then they were like, "Oh, we hear you guys. You don't want this, so we're just going to remove it from our game."
Yeah, that was a big turnaround. Yeah. Stalker 2, that was right.
Oh, sorry, I said Dying Light. Yeah, Stalker 2. Yeah, man, it's kind of crazy. But you know what else was crazy? And like, to be fair, this might have been the craziest fucking thing that was kind of gaming adjacent. And it's funny because I haven't thought about this in such a long time. But there was a short squeeze for our investor pals that resulted in a 1,500% increase in GameStop's share price, thanks to essentially r/investing or whatever, or fucking.
It was Wall Street Bets, right?
Wall Street Bets, yeah, that's what it was. And it's just like, man, like some keyboard warrior who's like, hey, I'm going to fucking buy GameStop. And it just went absolutely fucking mental. I mean, it even got like Elon Musk and Joe Biden fucking commenting on the fucking thing.
Yeah. I'd love to know where that's at now. Like, I bet it's just pitiful. There's a few people still holding out going, it's still going to go back up.
The posts from those subreddits still make the front page of Reddit nowadays. There are a lot of people who clearly still seem to be very invested in the long-term prospects for GME and AMC.
Wow.
Not me. I wouldn't touch it with a barge pole. Well, that's because I'm a pussy.
It was a few months after the fact that it came out that apparently a lot of the people in those Reddits are actually just the bankers who use those sort of places to try and get, do like a pretend short squeeze to squeeze the people that then think the short squeeze is real and make money out of those people. So you're like, oh, you bastards.
But the weird fucking thing is that like people made money from that, and not just like fucking bankers. Like but that's the fucking risk, right? Like if you frequent Wall Street Bets and you're like, I'm gonna try fucking everything, you're gonna be poor.
I mean, yes, ultimately, yeah.
99% of them are gonna be poor.
But I think it's that one dude that sees that like the first article that trickles through saying like, oh my God, GameStop's thing is fucking going crazy. And then they just had the foresight to say like, yeah, I'm getting in and I'm going to get ready to go out. Like,
Yeah.
Anytime I hear about these, it always makes me think of that guy who's like, is it 6 years he's been wading through the rubbish tip,
dump,
looking for his hard drives with his 350 million in Bitcoin on.
I mean, I probably would do that as well.
Yeah, I think he got like some kind of like NASA forensic fucking scientist to like look at satellite imagery or some shit. It's like, how is that going to fucking... Anyway. But fellas, January was a relatively... Let's say it started 2021 with a bang. And no bigger bang for me than the fact that I got COVID in January and I almost died.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
Bummer. That was...
Bummer.
It was a... I mean... maybe underselling it slightly. I'm sure you use slightly stronger language to describe that process. But yeah, well, I'm glad that all cleared up, and I'm glad you came back to the fold stronger than ever.
Well,
He
I
actually
don't know about
died.
stronger than ever. Yeah.
This is a clone.
This is what we said last week, right? Like, I am Lazarus. Fucking, you strike me down, 2 more will rise, taking my place. Like a fucking Hydra.
We buried the real Chris next to the real Avril Lavigne.
Wow. There you go. Do you ever think like, did you guys ever watch that movie? Was it Duplicity?
Yeah.
Multiplicity? Multiplicity.
Oh, what's the guy's name? The guy, Michael Keaton.
Michael. Oh, I think are they both films?
But what?
Are they both names of films? Duplicity and Multiplicity.
I think it's
I don't know.
Multiplicity is the Michael
I think it's
Keaton where he duplicates himself so that he can like do more stuff and get more stuff done, like pay attention to his wife and work at his job, and he ends up making like just loads of them.
Yeah, but here's the catch, Jamie. Each time he would clone himself, like it like degenerates his personality in a way. So
weird. Okay.
So eventually he gets like really effeminate in the one and really like in touch with his feelings, and eventually it goes so far down the line that he's just the last clone is just the absolute fucking like kindergarten grade like intellect idiot. And he licks a slice of pizza, puts it in his wallet, and puts his wallet in like classic acting from Michael Keaton. There you go.
Because the clones start cloning themselves, don't they? That's it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's almost like
and then they clone themselves and they clone themselves.
Yeah, it's almost like inbreeding.
Yeah,
inbreeding with your
Actually,
clones.
do you know what that tracks? Yeah. And also, Chris, for the sake of your sanity, Duplicity is also a film starring Clive Owen and Julia Roberts. A romantic crime comedy film written and directed by Tony Gilroy.
Wow, there you go. Oh, good old Tony. Hell yeah.
Yeah, big up Tone.
Should we hop on the train to February town?
Let's do it.
All right, because it's not really much of a train, but more of a bit of a car wreck, because we did have Destruction All-Stars.
It was okay. Do you know what? That was all right. Jamie and I played a few games. It was.
Hang on, you vouched for it. Has that video gone out yet?
No, I didn't vouch for it. That was fate. Yeah, that's on the Patreon. It's up at the Patreon at the moment. You can see the biggest failures of 2021, and Destruction All Stars is in there.
Yeah,
because I suppose you could say I vouch for it in the sense of I say it's not like a bad game. It's just a very mediocre game that didn't do anything for anyone really, and just kind of faded into obscurity.
Which surprise went to fucking PS Plus straight away at launch. So there you go. But yeah, Destruction All Stars obviously being that multiplayer car destruction thing, which probably 5 people are playing right now. But there you go. We also got Little Nightmares 2, which is a sequel to a friend of the show's, Steph's, one of his favorite games of recent years.
Yeah, I'm still too much of a pussy to play this, but apparently it was good.
Yeah, hell yeah, buddy. But Little Nightmares was good. Little Nightmares 2 also good. I remember when I went to Gamescom in our last year of ATG, and I got this like big statuette of Little Nightmares 2 for attending one of their talks. I just gave it to Steph. I was like, there you go, buddy. I know you love this shit.
I remember that.
It's pretty cool. What else came out in that month? Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury. Jamie, you had some good things to say about that.
Yeah, and I would like to take a moment actually to give props again to Bowser's, specifically the Bowser's Fury component of this. Not that the port of 3D World was bad. That's a game that as a non-Wii U owner, I wanted to play, and I'm glad I did. But Bowser's Fury, it was cool to see Nintendo experiment a little bit with the Mario formula and see what a potentially open-world Mario game would look like, albeit in a far, far smaller, almost test tube-like environment.
Yeah.
But if they extrapolate from that and expand on it for whatever the next big 3D Mario is, then we could be in for a treat. It worked very nicely.
Yeah. Well, if you think that like Mario 64 was followed by see if I'm getting my timeline correct. Mario 64 was then followed by Ocarina of Time. All right.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Right. So it's kind of like saying like, hey, Mario's gone 3D, and then the next thing is like Zelda's gone 3D. Right.
Right.
And then if we think that, hey, Zelda's gone open world with Breath of the Wild, and they fucking smashed it out the park, maybe the next big kind of Super Mario game is going to be an open world, kind of like follow that kind of trend.
Maybe. I think it was their way of, like, I think the Zelda format always worked as something that was somewhat more open, which is why even, like, you know, you go back to, like, Wind Waker and stuff like that. Obviously, lots of things that was a very directed experience at times, but it felt open in a way that Mario never really did. It always wanted to say, hey, you got a star or a shine or a moon, and now we're going to kick you back to something else, or you're going to fly somewhere else. Whereas Bowser's Fury is like, what if there are no menus when you complete the stage? You just have to like walk over to where the next thing starts, and it's interesting in that respect. It's not a bad solution, is what I'll say.
So would you look forward to that?
Yeah, I'd say I would. I'd like them to come up with a few more hooks and to see it in a non-water environment, because Bowser's Fury is set almost entirely in a water-dominated biome, and you have this big like fucking Loch Ness monster-looking motherfucker that you swim on the back of to get around quickly. But it's got cool ideas. That's the main thing. Yeah. And to get a fun little experiment tacked onto a good remaster/port, you know, it's hard to complain about that.
Yeah. What about you, Jonesy? You're putting some faces there. Known
I was
known
trying to
hater of all things Nintendo.
I like Nintendo. This is I'm tired with this brush, and this is not fair. I mean, I don't quite, you know, overrate them as much as you boys do. I like to give them their fair shake. But no, I think I was just thinking some of Odyssey is felt quite open worldy and played around with that. You know, I mean, not open world for sure, but like obviously gave you much more of a playground to play in than I think Mario games are giving you before. But yeah, I think the idea of them going a bit open world sounds cool. Like I had a lot of fun with Odyssey. I didn't play Bowser's Fury. I'm always looking forward to a new Mario game. I'm always looking forward to a new like Nintendo first party games, because let's be serious, they're few and far between, really.
Yeah.
So,
well,
bring on more.
If reports are to believe that 2022 could be seen as Nintendo's year, so let's see what happens.
Nintendo's year. I mean, they've got some stuff they can put out.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Gosh, you know, it wouldn't be a month in 2021 if we didn't talk about CD Projekt Red.
True.
Again, it didn't take them long, because CD Projekt Red suffered a cyber attack, leaving internal systems compromised, and a random note informed them that they'd been epically pwned.
Pwned.
And what was it? There's like they stole the source code to
they were going to post it. Yeah, they said they were going to post it.
I think they did post it.
But I'm pretty sure, didn't they say that they were going to give it to like a load of other people to like release, and the people they gave it to were like,
no, didn't they auctioned it on the dark web or some shit like that?
Oh right, yeah, no, I think they did, and because it wasn't just that, it was other stuff as well, right? It was all user data and all sorts of shit that they got hold of as well, and they deleted their servers. They basically erased CD Projekt servers, and they had to do a backup. And they had to go back, like go to a backup and like reload all their stuff. So it was days that they were out of the game for. And it was absolutely brutal. But they did what they should have done and just refused to pay the ransom. Or whatever.
You never negotiate with terrorists. Have you not learned anything from Hollywood movies about the US president?
Hell yeah.
We do not negotiate with terrorists.
They came out, it's funny because in a way they came out of it, like some people were saying they deserved it. I remember at the time, and I was just thinking like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's harsh, dude.
Post saying that they deserved it because of what they did, because of the whole Cyberpunk situation, was absolutely mental. Like there was no way that was a good outcome to come out of that. Like no one was going to benefit. Yeah, weird times.
I think it was you, Jonesy.
It was. I'm just trying to cover for myself now.
I think that's the reason you've kept that Cyberpunk chair, because you're like, they'll never suspect me if I continue to sit in this yellow Cyberpunk chair.
What's Jonesy's hacker name then? Come on.
Oh.
It's got to be something exotic. Maybe something vaguely sexual.
I don't think so. I think it's literally just going to be a ripoff from the 1995 movie Hackers.
I was just thinking it would have to be,
and it's going to be Zero Cool.
Zero Cool.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. That's actually a very good answer.
What was Angelina Jolie's character in that called?
Oh fuck, I don't remember.
Shall I look this up?
Yeah, do it. I can't. No. I'd be. Who was the guy from Scream? You know the
Matthew Lillard.
Yes, well, his cat. I want to know what his character's name is.
Let's go with that. Johnny Lee Miller, aka Zero Cool, was sometimes also known as Crash Override.
Crash
Override.
Angelina Jolie was known as Acid Burn. Matthew Lillard was Serial Killer, as in cereal the food. Yeah. You had Lord Nikon, the Phantom Freak with a PH, the Plague, Razor, Blade, and Hal.
Was the bad dude Fisher Stevens?
Maybe. Do you know who played him?
No, Fisher Stevens.
Yeah, it was
Fisher Stevens is the Plague, aka Eugene Belford.
Man, what a great fucking film! And do you know what? You get to see Angelina Jolie's tits in that film. So
if you haven't checked it out, you're only 20 years behind the curve. Go and have a little look.
I remember watching that on a Laserdisc at my cousin's house.
Wow,
that's a blast from the past. You are old.
Go fuck yourself.
Laserdisc.
You know who else can go fuck themselves?
Who?
Google.
Oh, yeah, I mean, sure.
More specifically, Stadia, because Google officially shutters its internal Stadia Games and Entertainment division, refocusing the service as a publisher for third-party games. And
it's so weird. This is such a weird sort of flashback, looking back at because to my mind, I'm like, how had Stadia failed so badly by February of 2021 that they were already closing down their first-party game studios to like focus on just publishing?
But you're forgetting one thing. Like we covered Google Stadia quite a lot when we were still ATG, so it has been a hot minute. And by all means, fellas, Stadia has survived 2021 miraculously. I don't know how many users they've got, and I don't know.
Well, it's what's unfortunate for Stadia is now there was actually a period where new games coming out would be like, it's going to be available on PlayStation, Switch is going to be on blah blah, and they would put Stadia as well. It's available on Stadia. They don't seem to do that anymore. It doesn't seem to show up anywhere. So that's never a good sign.
I've got a feeling if you did a Stadia logo drinking game during the Game Awards, then you'd have stayed remarkably sober.
Yeah, I also remember there was it happened within let's say the last 4 months, so relatively recent. But there was a new game that came out, and if you bought the game from Google, they threw in Google Stadia Pro just for free with the fucking Chromecast and the controller.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, it was a decent deal actually if you just want a Chromecast in the game, like a physical copy of the game. But obviously, no, it wasn't a physical copy of the game. Sorry, this was it. I'm remembering now. It wasn't a physical copy of the game. It was the Stadia copy of the game.
That's the thing.
But
you would basically just need to want the controller and the Chromecast and hope that the value of the deal was enough to comp those two. Because otherwise you're logging into some random Stadia account to play the one game you own on it every now and then.
Yeah, it was kind of fucking weird. I just can't believe that they survived 2021. Not many things have.
No.
Goodness, just ask all those people that died of COVID. Then, fellas, Anthem is also one of those casualties because and this is mad, isn't it? Because this feels like fucking ages ago as well. But Anthem Next, the fucking reboot of it was cancelled, just fucking killed. The game finally ceased development entirely, just canned, no hope. And I remember, Jamie, it was around about this time last year, wasn't it, that you had bought a copy of Anthem?
That's
for
right.
£5.
Because I did it during all I think it was the Black Friday sales that I bought Anthem and a couple of other games for what seemed like a good price at the time. And I was secretly rooting for Anthem Next. And I still remember the day that Jason Schreier tweeted he was so up to so in on their progress that he tweeted something like, there will be a meeting this week to determine if Anthem progresses or not. And the next thing we knew, we got that inevitable Bloomberg article. Anthem is no more. Sad.
Man. But you know what? With every death, there is a rebirth of sorts. And, one window closes, a door opens. If you believe in fucking the Buddhist ideology of reincarnation, maybe Valheim was that Nordic. Okay, it's a bad segue, fellas. Valheim.
You know what? I'll roll with it. You've reached, but I think you've got fingertips to that on this one. Now
just fingertips. Hey, you know what? I fucking watched the Olympics. Was it this year? Yeah, it was this year.
That was this year, yeah.
And they had rock climbing, and you know what? All you need is some fucking strong fingertips, and you can fucking scale any wall. Just the tip and you're in. Jonesy knows. He's got 2 kids. But yeah, Valheim was released in February, and interestingly, it became one of the year's first runaway hits because obviously an indie game, kind of like crafting, survival / open world bullshit. But yeah, it sold 1 million units in its first week. Who fucking knew?
Yeah.
I'd be interested to know like how fucking popular it is now, but it was definitely the du jour.
I know that Steph sunk a lot of time into it streaming wise, didn't he? They
he did
quite a lot.
Can I do a controversial, just a quick take on Valheim and other games of that ilk to become runaway success stories on Steam?
Okay, but hold on. When you say other games of that ilk, what you got to give your definition?
Games that seem to come out of nowhere, independently developed and published, all of a sudden start picking up traction on Steam, and the next thing you know, they've sold millions of units.
Yeah,
with some exceptions. But Valheim was one of those ones where I look back on it and say, I'm sure people had a great time in the moment. I'm sure people who bought and played Valheim with their friends, have fond memories of it. But I am glad I didn't jump in when it was hot and heavy, because I'd have played it twice when everyone else was around and we had the time, and it would have been sat there in Steam ever since saying, I really wish I could play more of that, but I never would.
Yeah,
and I feel validated in not purchasing it. There's another game coming up later on.
I was going to say.
That both of you two purchased, and I remember making a stand on not purchasing, and I'm glad I didn't.
Fair enough.
Even if you both speak very highly of it.
I do still speak very highly of it, but I thought you were going to talk about a different game that's going to come up a little bit later that you sunk money into that you didn't want to.
I'm trying to think what that could. There's a bunch of things that could be actually, but yeah.
Well, I'll remind you when we get there because
oh God!
Rounding out February, we got our kind of like our first news of the Last of Us TV show, HBO's upcoming adaptation, where we found out that Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey were going to take the leads.
Still don't like it.
Some people can't be pleased.
I'll watch it. I'll give them time. I'll see if it's good. And I bet do you know what? I bet they're great. But at the moment, when you say it, it's hard for me to imagine like those two as Joel and Ellie. But hey, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Can I ask you guys a question? Like, I wonder with all of the failures of like TV and film adaptations of games, right? And I mean, like, let's be honest, they're more failures than not.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
Like, this is something that I thought about like for a number of years, especially when it comes to Blizzard properties, because obviously Blizzard cinematics are, you could say, like the best in the business, right? And I always kind of like thought to myself, okay, as an example, they want to make a Warcraft movie, and I just thought to myself, why don't they just fucking do it with their own? Make it a CG fucking thing, feature length, not tied to any not part of a game or whatever, and just release as its own thing, done by that cinematic department.
I mean, it worked for Final Fantasy, right?
Well,
I don't agree.
I enjoyed the Final Fantasy.
That was you're right. The Final Fantasy, the Spirits, what was it called? Spirits
Within.
Within was just the right idea too early, when it was still too expensive and the graphics weren't actually that good.
Yeah.
It's more plausible now.
I think that's fine. Like, that's absolutely fine to do that as a side piece. It's something that goes out on Netflix and that fans will watch and think. But when I think you're talking about trying to pull in non-fans of games in order to watch a series that, or in a lot of cases it's a TV series now that can pull in a lot of new people that aren't tied to that world in any other way.
But I think
so.
I think that's where you fail. I think that's where you fail, to be honest.
What you think you fail because you're not necessarily trying to tie the gamers into it?
Well, because you're trying to please the gamers, and you're trying to bring in a broader audience. So what happens is you dilute it where it's not good enough for the gamers, but it's still kind of like shit enough for everyone else, and you just get a shit experience. Not all the time. Maybe. Like you were about to talk about The Witcher, and I agree. Like they've knocked it out of the park with that one.
I don't think it's cinematics. I think it's story. I think for me, it's story that usually falls down, is because that's where the cinematics they usually nail, but it's the story that they try and stick too closely in a lot of cases to the games. And they have to put in these ludicrous sort of narrative devices in order to try and make the thing work, and it just doesn't work, and it's rubbish. Whereas at least with let's be honest, the thing The Witcher's got going for it is that it's from a book. It's based on a book, which is a hell of a lot easier to adapt than a game is.
True.
So I think that's to be fair, is probably partly the reason. But the thing I worry about more about Last of Us isn't the fact that it's going to be an adaptation from a game. I think it's TV series fare that they've dealt with before, but things like The Walking Dead have shown, like, I get really bored of them because they kind of have to meander and go in really weird routes in order to keep it interesting. But I just get bored with it. I'd rather they just did a limited run, stuck to the subject matter, and just did it like that.
I agree. And you know who did it really fucking well? And it was last year, was the Watchmen series. They were like,
I loved that.
We're fucking going in, we're going hard. We're fucking expectations. Who gives a shit? We're going to do it how we're going to do it, and we're going to get out. And we're not planning sequels. Like, that's just it.
I prefer that. I much prefer that.
Yeah. Like if they came out and said HBO's The Last of Us is going to be 3 seasons. Season 1's going to be the first game. Season 2 is going to be, like, say, bridging the gap, and season 3 is going to be the second game, and then we're done. Fucking solid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see what they do.
I wouldn't mind that at all.
I'm hopeful for that.
I'd be fine if they said it's season 1 is the first game, season 2 is the second game, and 3 is going to be concurrently with a third game that with it. Like, I'd be like, that's cool. That's a cool thing to do. But yeah, I'm fine with the limited run thing, not trying to drag it out for 10 seasons or whatever, something ridiculous.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happened with Walking Dead. And guess what? Each season, it's exactly the same fucking bullshit. Don't tell me it's not. I'm not going to believe you.
But I bloody love The Witcher. I've started watching season 2 now. I'm like 5 episodes in. I think it's great.
Nice.
I'm hopeful.
I enjoyed the first season. I haven't had time to watch the second season. The end of the year, fellas, like, it's fucking gone mental. But I know after this week I'll have time, so that'll be good.
Yeah, MacGruber's just dropped, so that's taking a lot of my time at the moment. Yeah.
Quality.
On Peacock, which for us here in the UK means it's time to set sail on the salty seas, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. There is Peacock on Sky, but it doesn't have all the stuff. Like, there's a third Psych movie. I don't know if you guys have ever watched Psych, but it's one of my all-time favorites. And it's not on there. So yeah, pirate's life for me. But yeah, fellas, like, I don't even know how I'm going to segue this, so I'm just going to go into it. BlizzConline was the thing that happened in February, which I think it happened after being delayed from last year, or from the year prior, so 2019.
Right.
No,
2020.
Time is a fluid concept, fellas. You know,
it's
like
a flat circle.
Flat circle is, round and round. It's a stream, and we're just islands in the stream. So
time is a freeway with an infinite number of lanes.
There we go. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, BlizzConline, where the existence of Diablo 2 Remake was shown off. But interestingly, I don't know if it's interestingly, it made all the right fucking noises, fellas, but eventually when it came out, whenever it fucking was, we'll go through it, it'll pop up at another time. I was thoroughly disappointed.
Yeah,
thoroughly disappointed. Which, hey, if you look out for a certain 6 list that'll be coming out on the channel soon, you might find out why. But yeah, Vicarious Visions was absorbed into Blizzard in the process. They were the people kind of like taking the reins of the Diablo 2 remake. Other things that happened at BlizzConline was Shadowlands getting a fucking major update. Burning Crusade was now coming to World of Warcraft Classic, so that was the fucking weirdest thing to me. Hey, let's release the expansion to the game that we rolled back a version of because people like the vanilla experience.
Yeah, odd.
Very fucking odd. Obviously, there was some more Diablo 4 stuff. There was a new mode for Hearthstone announced, and we got some more Overwatch 2 info. You know, it kind of... I think at the time, it was very much a case of like with Blizzard, it was, yeah, that was kind of disappointing, but fine. You know, like, it is what it is. Blizzard was the Blizzard at the beginning of the year, and some shit happened after that. So, you know, we'll get into it.
Yeah.
But yeah, another news, obviously, you know, from kind of being a bit meh to Blizzard, people got some hard-ons, fellas.
They did.
Lots and lots of people.
Yeah, men and women. You know, lady boners were a big thing in this because Resident Evil Village's Lady Dimitrescu, you know, people's love for it just kind of reached a bit of a boiling point because Capcom confirmed, fellas, and this was fucking probably the biggest news of February, that her height was 9'6".
Yeah, do you know what? And I'm glad they had the balls to come out there and say it. They shouldn't be ashamed as much as she shouldn't be ashamed of being that tall. And if anything, more power to her. I
love that was the kind of... well, that was their PR for that month. Just like, yeah, can you imagine the boardroom meeting? Like, what are we going to do in the month of February leading up to, like, you know, the release and everything? Like, we've got to go something big, like PR, you know, push the info. And then there's just that, like, one kind of like pedo-ish kind of Japanese dude who never says anything in these meetings. He just puts up his hand and goes, tell them her height. And that's it.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
And
that was a weird time, though, man. It annoyed me at the time, and it still annoys me now.
What's annoying about that? You're so weird.
Do you not remember the comment when we were talking about the time? And I was
people saying like, "Oh, I want her to step on me." Yeah,
yeah. They were getting really weirdly like freaky and like all these blue checkmark people were getting weirdly into like the fetish shit just to talk about how much they love this, and it was like, what are you doing?
I just think they got their blue check marks, bro. They're all fucking a little bit freaky.
That's true. Actually, that's true.
And
but it was a weird moment when the gaming sort of universe came together to decide that they were all into A, feet, and B, being stepped on by large Amazonian type women. Yeah.
Well, I will just say though that Lady Dimitrescu, probably the most baller PR or marketing move of the entire year. The fact that one character came to represent all the pre-release hype for that game, and she was in it for like half an hour, and like no one knew until May. But it was like, yeah, genius.
Fair enough.
I like that people get annoyed these days if you put like too much tits and ass in anything game wise, movie wise. Like people get annoyed with it and they sort of say like, why have you got to use this to try and sell a game? But if you make her 9'6", her tits are absolutely giant and she's wearing a hat, it's absolutely fine.
Just make him a big bitch and it's cool.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
But you know, like it reminded me, fellas, that do you remember we played Resident Evil 7? We played it on VR at one stage. We recorded that.
We did.
It didn't see the light of day online, but that was pretty cool. Just imagine Lady Dimitrescu in VR.
Oh yeah.
I can't even imagine what that would look like in VR. 9'6". I'm like just about pushing. I'm like nearly 6 foot, I guess. So she's going to be like 4 feet above my head.
Yeah, she'll be like a Danny DeVito taller than you.
Her tits would be like eclipsing her face. I wouldn't even be able to see her.
Oh. True, actually. If you stood too close to her, you wouldn't be able to see her.
If I was too close, she's just going to be this like giant.
Yeah, fellas, that's for you. You're much taller than me. Imagine the fucking dilemma I'd be in.
Dude, mate, you just got vag.
I'd have the perfect fucking. Yeah, I'd have the perfect fucking. Yeah.
Every time she saw you, she'd just drop the way down there.
Well, you do already carry a stepladder around with you, like in that, the one you have in your satchel you used to take to work.
That is a patented lie. I've got go-go gadget boots.
Shit, I forgot about that. You tap your heels together and you just grow.
Yeah, spring-loaded,
I like that.
But I'll tell you what, I wouldn't like to see Lady Dimitrescu in, PSVR, because that PSVR, still, you got all the fucking, the what do they call it? The fucking...
the screen door effect.
Screen door effect, yeah. But, hey, guess what? Sony's got you covered, potentially, in the future. because they did announce a new VR headset, the PSVR 2, that was announced, fellas, in a just a blog post kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just like, by the way, this is what's happening, and
I think the fact that it was so understated is the reason I keep kind of forgetting it's happening.
Yeah, it was. Mark Cerny just shared a thing, wasn't it? It was like, this is happening.
Basically, just a blog post.
It wasn't even like a blog post. It was just like a paper. It's like like a press release, like the most old school fucking thing.
Wasn't it part of another thing that they just put on their website or something, and it just popped up?
No, I think it was just its own thing. That was just like, boom, there it is.
But we knew it was going to happen, but I think we thought it'd be more fanfare than this, that they'd announce it, and it was just very...
And fellas, it was fucking odd at the time how they announced it, but little did I know that it would start a trend for announcements in 2021 of just announcing shit in the weirdest fucking way. I mean, last week on the podcast, we spoke about how Ubisoft officially announced a Splinter Cell remake, ground up remake, with a fucking job post.
Yeah. We talked about how Indiana Jones did the teaser trailer in January and then disappeared and won't come back for ages. I think I said it last week or the week before. Announcing the thing has never been less important. Yeah. You just gotta. All you're doing is planting the seed and letting it grow, baby.
Yeah, it's also a strange thing because you could, when you say it's an announcement, you could basically just bump into someone in the hall, at your studio, and be like, "Are we going to do that? Yeah, we're going to do that. Should we announce it? Yeah, go on, just get someone from graphics to whip something up, and then we'll just say that we're doing it."
I mean, it's cost effective.
Nothing is it. Sorry,
cost effective.
It is cost effective. Absolutely, it's cost effective.
Yeah. You know what else is cost effective, fellas?
Can I guess?
Yes.
Getting games while they're free on the Epic Game Store.
Boom, nailed it. Loop Hero.
Oh, yes, I knew it.
Loop Hero, a game that released in March. Yes, that's right. Was moving swiftly along into March. Fucking flying by the seat of our pants here. Loop Hero was released. A game that I jumped into and was thoroughly sucked off by.
I actually saw you tweet about this the other day. I think you were sort of saying about how good it was again.
Yeah, I can guarantee Jonesy didn't act on that tweet.
Yeah, fucking.
I didn't.
Yeah. Did you, Jamie?
Yeah, I did. I've so far gathered every single game that's been free on the Epic Game Store thus far, apart from Neon Abyss, because I forgot.
And are you planning to play Loop Hero?
Yeah, Loop Hero is the one so far where it's like, I might have bought this in another world or another timeline.
Right, yeah.
And now it's free. Not necessarily the case with games like Second Extinction or Mutant Year Zero, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah, not bad games to give away for free, but nothing that's made me go crazy.
No, Loop Hero was, I think, a really good get for Epic, especially because I think recently it's released on the Switch as well, which is a great game on the Switch, that type of game. But yeah, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on it because I kind of love it. I'm not going to lie. It's a cool game. But other games that released in March, Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, which was a nice little surprise. Balan Wonderworld. Fellas,
great game, right? Absolutely phenomenal, colourful, exciting, fun game.
It is in the running for Game of the Year for sure.
Big time.
But no, we to be fair, we did also cover it in one of our latest 6 lists. So go take a look. Then, fellas, an actual Game of the Year, It Takes Two, was released in March. So
there was a good game.
Yeah,
helping to fill that cocaine tray of Joseph Fares. Do you think he snorts coke with his family?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think he has any family. I think he snorts so much coke that visions of a family materialize before his eyes, and that's what he counts as family.
I don't think he snorts it. I think it's just imbued into everything he has. So no matter what he does, he's getting high off anything. It's in everything.
Right, okay.
His world is full of cocaine.
He's high on life, is what you're saying. I see.
Yeah.
And cocaine.
He is crazy enough that, I mean, don't get me wrong, I know A Way Out was it was set in a prison, blah, 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 blah. But It Takes Two, pretty family. It handles adult themes like divorce and relationships. Yeah. But it's a family-friendly game for the most part. I'd like to see Joseph Fares use his kind of unique wackiness and creativity to make something just extremely fucked up.
Yeah. Give him the keys to the Manhunt franchise or something.
Right, exactly. Joseph Fares' Manhunt 3 would be a very exciting prospect.
I don't think he's got that in him. I think we've seen what he's got in him. The wackiness, the cocaine fueled, all that sort of stuff is on the outside.
No,
but then when he makes a game, I think that's what his inside is like that of a child.
Here's a pitch for you, Jonesy. The book from It Takes Two that's trying to help you mend your relationship. Yeah. Take that character and put them in like Scarface.
Hey, I'm a magical book. Yeah. It does kind of fit. Yeah, weirdly.
All right. What about Joseph Fares making a sequel to a game that you guys both enjoyed that came out in March? Was Disco Elysium: The Final Cut?
That would be good, actually. Like in a different genre, if it wasn't a sort of a top-down isometric kind of deal, if there was if he sort of got hold of it and did something different with it, that would be pretty wicked. I could see that happen.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like all the weird mini games that would start to find their way into Disco Elysium now, where all of a sudden, like for some reason, after your pride's been hurt by someone like insulting you and you failing a conversation check, then you have to do some weird mini game where it's like marbles or something like that to get it back.
Yeah, but
you've got another chance.
It's co-op. Yeah. It's couch co-op where one person is playing with the marbles, but the other person is the marble.
Right. Meta.
And they're trying to work against you.
If co-op means that I can play as Kim Kitsuragi, then hey, we're onto something. That would be very cool.
Yeah, but fellas, safe to say one of the top games of the year for both of you? Disco Elysium.
In so much as it was new, which I would argue that the new content is changes the core product enough to count. Yeah, it was one of the games of the year. Absolutely.
I'd agree, yeah. I've had a great time with it. Thought it was a fantastic game. I think the only thing that would have maybe elevated it slightly for me was a bit more variation in the story towards the end. Like I would have liked to have seen some branches.
Well, like more branches.
Yeah, because I think it kind of sets you up thinking that that's how it's going to go down, and it kind of doesn't really do that in so much as you think it might. It does to some degree, but it would have been cool to see a bit more of that. But yeah, a fantastic game, a lot of fun. I really, really enjoyed it.
Nice. And fellas, looking at what happened in that month. What fucking month are we in? March. Jesus Christ, what a long time to go. E3's 2021 live event is cancelled after much speculation as COVID continues to disrupt any industry plans going forward. It's kind of, It's been a bit mad. Like when Jeff Keighley does a big song and dance about like, hey, we're actually doing a live event for our Game Awards that have just happened. And it's almost like, well, yeah, but we're probably going back into lockdown. A lot of the world has gone back into lockdown.
Yeah.
It's like, fucking hell.
I mean, was it Jacksepticeye who was on stage at the Game Awards presenting an award and then tweeted on his way back to Ireland, like, oh yeah, got COVID.
Got COVID. Good.
Shit.
Thanks.
Yeah, no Christmas. Great.
Fucking hell, it's mad. But yeah, E3 obviously will pop up a little bit later. But, it was looking back at it, I kind of think that this year was like not much happened other than like some bullshit, but there was some cool shit that happened, fellas. Case in point, Xbox Game Studios completing the acquisition of ZeniMax Media. Obviously, we had known it was coming, but it actually fucking happened. It was confirmed because, it had to go through, I don't know, fucking FCC checks or whatever fucking things they got going on. And it was confirmed that titles such as Starfield would be exclusive to Xbox and that they would honor pre-existing PlayStation exclusives.
That was what was weird at the time. Because remember when we first heard about that, we were like, what do they do with the games that they've already said are coming out on other systems? Like, do they just say, nah, now you're not getting them anymore? And there was like a weird time when that seemed like an amazing get, but like quite a weird situation. Because I think we said it's even going to be the situation where Xbox are putting games out on the PlayStation as like exclusives that are going to be like, what? How does this work? But great for them.
If anything, this year has been the year of cross-pollination for all of those fucking platforms, as we'll find out.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, speaking of PlayStation, on the other side of things, they had their play-at-home initiative return. Essentially, they were like, fellas, COVID sucks, lockdown sucks, have some free games. And that was really nice of them. They offered 10 free games to players during various lockdowns around the world. And, good guy PlayStation.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And letting people play free games is always a nice touch. I think that Horizon Zero Dawn and its DLC at some point became free around that time, which is Like, that's just a really nice thing to give gamers at a difficult time.
Gamers with a capital G. Yeah. But then, from good guy PlayStation to scumbag Steam, because they decided to remove or ban and remove Super Seducer 3 from their store after a kind of, let's say an interesting lead up into that actual ban. They were concerned at the age authenticity of some of the quote unquote actresses in the game. With the actual guy, what was the guy's name? Like Richard de la Runa.
Yeah.
De la Runa, yeah.
De la Runa.
Oh man, I forgot about it. Yeah.
And he had to, I don't even think it's De la Runa, I think it's just La Runa. And
right.
He had to kind of like give proof before apparently Steam would allow it to be on the store, but then they just said, nah, you can't do it. And then they banned it. And then
yes.
I want to say that, didn't Twitch ban it as well or something?
I think Twitch banned it after Steam banned it, but by that point, this guy gave early access to streamers.
Yes,
and so they'd all kind of already played it. I'm looking at his Twitter feed now. He still has problems with his own personal Facebook page. Apparently, quote unquote, Richard La Ruina goes against our community standards, which is a pretty damning indictment of your place as a human being. But he has also done the only logical thing that you can do in this situation, which is backed up hard into the kind of banned element. He's now advertising it as Super Seducer 3 Banned Edition, which you can pick up from superseducer.itch.io. # not sponsored.
Oh, wow. Itch.io, huh? Okay. Interesting.
Yes. You know what?
Oh, that's a weird one. That's almost like, I guarantee that all the women in it are underage. You know what I mean? It's like the banned edition.
The banned edition.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
The version Gabe Newell won't let you see.
It's a strange kind of thing to lean into. But
I think if it was true, it'd probably, that the Steam ban would be the least of his fucking worries. Probably have the FBI knocking down on his door, but whatever.
True.
Man, strange times. None stranger than the rumors of the Switch Pro, a model that was meant to be delivering 4K gaming using DLSS.
Yeah.
Which is like...
Oh, my stupid camera.
There we go. Maybe it seems like Jonesy needs some DLSS in his fucking webcam because he's going all fucking blurry. There we go.
Big time.
That's good. But yeah, fellas, this was obviously before the Switch OLED was announced and kind of the collective gaming sphere just went, ah. Because let's be honest, a Switch Pro, like the concept of it, sweet. 4K gaming in a handheld, yes, please. And I think these rumors have been swirling around for a very long time. As have been mentioned before, we covered it when we were still at ATG as like Switch Pro, 4K, etc., etc., etc. And I had my doubts then. I had my doubts when these rumors re-emerged. And I kind of technically still have my doubts. The DLSS does make sense to kind of push it through. But yeah.
That's why this story for me was one of the year's biggest head scratchers, because I feel like when we're well and truly in the era of confirmed rumors, it's become somewhat easier to distinguish the bullshit from the reality of the situation.
Dude,
when it comes to
multiple outlets confirm the same fucking thing, like, oh yeah, Switch Pro, we know for sure. It's Switch
but that's
Pro.
the thing, like
fucking from Eurogamer to fucking IGN to GameSpot.
But Bloomberg. Bloomberg not only reported on this, but also when Nintendo were like, no, that's not the case, they doubled down on it. And then when the Switch OLED was announced, they doubled down on it again. And were like, yes, Nintendo didn't do this, but we promise this is still the case. And there's a part of me, call me like insane, that believes them. I genuinely believe that a DLSS-powered 4K capable Switch Pro device was like thought up and planned and worked on in some capacity at some point, only to then get pipped at the post by a Switch OLED model, and we will see this Switch Pro model at another time. I genuinely believe that. You can call me crazy.
No, I'm with you there.
Crazy.
I'm with you.
Yeah, maybe that's my tinfoil hat. I've got to have one.
Jonesy, you don't think it's going to happen?
No, it obviously could happen. I think it was a bit of a weird one though, because I won't say it got nasty, but it almost did. Like there was some people having their I guess their sources and their credibility questioned, like the journalists, like you say, Bloomberg, who were coming out obviously saying, yeah, this is happening. And then when Nintendo said it's not, there definitely felt like there was some animosity between the two of them.
Yeah.
Because I want to say, wasn't it the Bloomberg guy that had contacts through the screen manufacturing process and said, oh no, they're making the screens now, like it's going through, it's happening, and it was weird.
Right, because it was meant to be 4K and OLED, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there was the weird situation where when he was trying to double down, the Bloomberg reporter said, I've spoken to these many developers and they've all confirmed that they have been informed about this being built. And he name dropped one of the developers. I can't remember who it was. And then they came out and were like, yeah, that's not true. We never said that. So it just, everything seemed to undermine, everything made it seem like the Bloomberg journalists were just lying. But I just don't believe that they were. I think it's so much easier for a major corporation who had broken NDA to be like, yeah, we didn't break NDA. We never broke NDA. That's not us. We never said that.
Yeah, totally. But
than it is for a journalist to risk his job and reputation by chasing a lie that no one cares about.
Yeah. But like, if you consider Nintendo's side of things, I mean, they cancelled that fucking Legend of Zelda Netflix series because it got leaked.
Yeah.
And they're just like, well, fuck it. We're not doing it anymore.
There's also the Metroid Prime stuff that came out this year where someone was like, hang on a second, weren't we went to get like Metroid Prime remasters? And someone came out with like, yeah, they're done. They're finished. Nintendo were just waiting for the right time to release them. They've just sat on it for like a year now. But those have been real the whole time.
It's interesting that maybe if the 4K DLSS stuff was so far ahead of release schedule, like that knowledge came out, and the OLED was already planned to come out, and then there's a 4K Pro version coming out like or being announced next year, that would kind of make sense that then if Nintendo are like, no, we don't want anyone to know about this because we want people to buy the OLED, and then we want people to buy the Pro, like, yeah, it still totally makes sense.
100%, I believe that could be a possibility.
It was a weird time though, because the people that were saying it was real, and then Nintendo saying no,
we see, fellas,
the infighting was fun.
What you got to remember is that same weird Japanese dude that was at Capcom that said like, hey, release the lady's height, went over to Nintendo and said, cool, so you've got a 4K OLED Switch. You don't need to give them 4K. Just give them an OLED. They'll fucking buy it. And then Nintendo were like...
And you're like, hang on a second. We promote the release of Metroid Dread and Breath of the Wild 2 with a console that's the exact same level of power as our current console. People won't buy it. Yeah, they will.
Yeah, they
sell
fucking will.
Sell it and find out.
Oh, man. Speaking of finding out, fellas, we found out about Outriders, whether it was a good game or not. Jamie played it about 5 times before it was officially released in April.
Over a year after I'd originally flown to Poland to play this thing, people finally got their hands on it. Jonesy bought it.
I did. I liked it. I thought I tried to play it on my own, and I would have much preferred it with like more people. But I think because it wasn't that popular, and not many people picked it up. I know Jamie, you got it later on.
We played the beta together, and we had a good time. Yeah. But I never bought the full release because I was too busy at the time. And then when I wasn't busy anymore, it was a bit...
Yeah. I am going to challenge you on that, though, Jonesy, because as I recall, Outriders, when it launched, it was relatively successful, for a new IP of that ilk. But
I mean, in my circles, like people, no one was playing.
Yeah.
So I didn't have anyone to jump on and play with. And then, because it's on Game Pass now, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, since release, I think it had a decent kind of like launch, and then I think it fell off quite hard. And then it came out on Game Pass, like you said, and I just don't know kind of where it's at the moment.
I downloaded it on Game Pass and had the exact same thing that Jonesy had on the PlayStation 5, which is that I didn't want to play it on my own anymore. I put like 4 hours into it. I was like, I'd like to play this with friends. No one I know is playing it. End of story.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, fellas, if you weren't playing Outriders, maybe you were playing Oddworld Soulstorm. Yeah,
I did play that as well.
I did not. I didn't even start it.
It was crap.
Oh, that sounds harsh.
No, it was. It was not great. It was. It was what?
Not,
it was
not great. Yeah.
It was the first Oddworld game that I'd played for like a long time, and I think all the trailer stuff for it. I was like, okay, I'm ready for another Oddworld game. It's been like 20 years or whatever since I played one, and I tried to stick with it, but I just.
But why? Was it genuinely bad, or was it more like they're being too faithful to like the original kind of concept, and just the world's moved on?
Yeah, I would say that's probably what it was. It's still a 2D side scrolling, like with fake sort of 3 or 2.5D ish stuff in some places, and it's very platformy, and it's very much of what it used to be. It's a dated format, and I just couldn't be bothered with it. And I mean, it didn't even look amazing. I think because I'm pretty sure it was free. I think it was on
It launched on PlayStation Plus.
PlayStation
Did
Plus,
it?
yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah. So it was one of those where you're kind of like, this is interesting. So why have they launched it for free? And I played for a few hours, and I was trying to like it. I was like really trying to like it.
That's the worst when you're like, you can kind of accept it when you pay money for it. Like we've spoken about this before. If you pay money for a game, you really try and give it the benefit of the doubt because you've sunk your money into it. But even when the game is free and you're like, I'm really fucking trying here, fellas, but you're not giving me much to work with.
Yeah.
That's when it's just like super fucking disappointing.
Do you know how you know it's bad is when like you literally stop playing a game and you immediately delete it. Like you don't even give it time to breathe. I literally was like, do I want to leave this on my PlayStation? I'm like, no, because I'm not going to play it again. It's not great. It's not good. And I just
funny enough, jumping forward a bit, that happened to me with the game that I was really looking forward to.
Okay.
Do you remember this?
I'm not
Jamie?
sure. I'm trying to think what it could be. Is it a game that we're going to talk about later?
Yes, yeah.
Interesting.
I'll bring it up now. It
Okay,
was Age of Empires 4.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, that also took up a lot of space.
Yeah, it did take up a lot of space, but yeah, it was one of those games. It's funny. It's like very similar to Oddworld Soulstorm, where I was so ready for it. I really wanted it. I played it. I was like, this game is okay. To be fair, maybe not the same as Oddworld, but I was like, this game is fucking good. It is fucking good, but it's maybe sticking too close to the original formula, and I'm like, I don't want to play a slow-paced RTS in 2021. So I played a couple of skirmishes in a single playthrough, did the tutorial, etc. Like spent a decent chunk of it, maybe like 5 hours, and then I was like, yeah, I'm done, and I deleted it.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Well, that's how it goes. I'll tell you what, a game that I didn't play, which people liked, but again, might be following too similar a formula to its old namesake, which was new Pokemon Snap. Did any of you guys pick that up?
Negative. No, I wasn't even a big enough fan of old Pokemon Snap. I always kind of like, I just looked at it as sort of an on-rails experience that didn't look particularly appealing, and my feelings did not change in the 20 years of aging I did between the two releases.
This is a weird one for me. So I did get this. I did get Pokemon Snap.
You did?
Well, he's got kids. Of course he did.
Yeah, I got it from my son. Yeah, for his
Okay.
birthday. So we spent a decent amount of time with that. Like, him playing and occasionally, like, you know, him saying, "Oh, you have a go," and sort of I had a bit of a go as well. And I was like, "Oh, yeah, it's great for a kid who likes Pokemon." Like, he was loving it, and he was saying, "Oh, that's this Pokemon, that's that Pokemon," and a new legendary or whatever pops out, and he thinks that's really cool. I must admit, I don't see how. I find it like maybe it's like a chill out game, but I can't see an adult like sitting down for hours on end playing that game. Like, unless you are insanely committed to the Pokemon franchise and you just want to experience Pokemon like all the goddamn time. But no, he liked it. He thought it was cool. It's a very pretty game. Yeah, it was very much like Pokemon Snap. Like, there's not. I guess it looks better. Like, I didn't play the original, but yeah,
well, the original was N64, right? So like,
oh, I have no idea. Like, I
was,
knew that. Right. Wow. Yeah. So this, Jesus Christ, it look a lot better. But there was a lot more Pokemon around this year that he was more into, actually, to be fair, than Snap. So I think he put it on the shelf after a while.
So you see, he fell off quite quickly. Yeah.
He did. Yeah.
Oh, well, another game that a lot of people fell off quite quickly if they did take the dive into it was the PS5 exclusive Returnal from Housemarque.
This is one that I really want to play, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
agreed.
Go on,
And I was going to say it's one that I did play because this was still very much in sort of like craving new PS5 software.
Right.
It was in that era. It was perfectly positioned.
Hey, Jamie. We believe in generations. All right.
And Joe, I realised they were being serious about that when they charged me £70 for a roguelike. But Returnal is actually very good, and it was one of my sleeper favourite games of the year. Would it factor into like a top 10 games of the year list for me? potentially, depending on what kind of mood I woke up in that morning feeling. But do you know what it was? And Chris, you'll relate to this.
Yeah.
It was for me, as someone that is notoriously steered clear of Soulsborne games, it was that sort of like, it was my version of that. This game is hard. Everyone's talking about how hard this game is, but I have to keep going, partly because of that £70 price tag. And I did keep going, and I did finish it, and I felt that wave of euphoria wash over me with each defeated boss. That I imagine is what it's like playing a Soulsborne game, playing a From Software game. I was glad I experienced it. Glad I put the time in. Also, I think I said at the time, I'll say it again now, underrated narrative elements and sort of like, what's a good way of putting it? Like slightly more subversive storytelling present throughout that I appreciated. Cool visual style, job well done for Housemarque. Cool to see what they do next on that hardware.
Yeah, especially because they've been bought by PlayStation Studios.
Yeah, big budget coming up, hopefully.
Returnal 2, Return to Returnal.
Returnals return.
The Returnals.
Starring Angelina Jolie.
Yeah. Now, obviously we're not covering all the games that came out in these months, but just the notable ones, right? Now, a game that might not necessarily be notable on the surface of it, that came out in the month of April, was MLB The Show 21, baseball, right? Traditionally a kind of like a Sony staple, as it were.
Yeah.
Now, the interesting thing about this is it's a game published by Sony. You've got to imagine, like, Japanese people, they're really into their baseball. That's maybe why kind of Sony are so like into it. You know, I'm stereotyping here, sure,
but they do like it. Yeah,
they fucking love it. But what is interesting is that this game, a game published by Sony, launched on Xbox Game Pass at launch, not like, hey, 6 months down the line, etc. So you've got PlayStation games releasing on PC, like, let's say a year after the fact.
Yeah.
But now you've got MLB The Show releasing on Xbox Game Pass at launch.
Yes. Absolutely, like a really bizarre situation. And it kind of backs up the point you made earlier, Chris, like the fluidity and the intermingling of game studios and first and third party stuff this year was kind of unprecedented. But mostly net positive for gamers, right? So
it's basically like a life before AIDS.
Just you could fuck whoever you wanted, anal or otherwise.
Just fuck around. You basically just walk with your cock out, really.
Yeah. Big time. I think most did. That's my understanding of the 80s.
And the MLB swung their cock about, and that's how they managed to get this to happen.
Hell yeah.
True.
But the weirdness in terms of all this cross-pollination gets even weirder. And there was another confirmed rumor that came out suggesting that Hideo Kojima's next game could be coming to Xbox, potentially even as an Xbox exclusive, which kind of made us scratch our fucking heads, because obviously Kojima Productions is being bankrolled by PlayStation. But then again, it seems that they don't have assigned exclusivity. Or maybe they do, because, hey, it hasn't gone any further than just that initial fucking rumor that we heard.
Yeah. Kind of one that we're going to have to wait and see how it plays out, right? Like, Sony definitely heavily invested in Death Stranding, and there was mixed reports over how happy they were with the end product and the impact it had on the market. If Phil Spencer wants to swing in there and say, hey, come on over to our side, Kojima, then I'm more than happy. That's an E3 pop moment that I want, is like if we have an E3 in person next year, Kojima on the Microsoft stage.
Yeah, you know what's going to happen is Phil Spencer's going to come on stage wearing a t-shirt and a blazer, you know, and it's got like, because he changes his t-shirt throughout the show, right? Where he's like introduces all the different trailers, whatever. And he'll come out at the very end was like one last thing kind of thing.
Yes.
But his blazer's all like buttoned up, and you're like, oh shit, he's going to be wearing a Kojima Productions t-shirt. But what's going to all right, but what's going to happen is he's going to open up the blazer, and just like fucking Total Recall, out of his chest is going to be Hideo Kojima.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm like, it's like a growth within him.
Quaid!
Total Recall.
Yes, that's the name of the film.
That's literally what I just said. Jonesy, thanks for paying attention, fella.
I missed it.
Oh god, dude. That's funny. I can believe it.
It's after midnight when this happens.
It is after midnight.
Yeah.
I also like the idea of like Phil Spencer saying, "Oh, Mr. Kojima, like you look like you've been on your feet all day. Like let's get you a seat." Claps his hands. Jeff Keighley comes out and just like leather and chains, gets in his hands and knees, and Kojima sits on him
in his shiny boots.
Mr. Kojima, are you here?
That's the one. Did you? Was it last week? I think it was. People. There's a lot of news reports about the fact that Sony have patented the Death Stranding mechanic, like the path laying mechanic.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Lots of people can build together. So which is an interesting story, knowing that obviously there were confirmed rumors about Hideo speaking to Xbox. Because if you've got to wonder, like, if he likes the idea of Strand games and build it, and that sort of thing. If Sony have been able to patent something like that, then it kind of scuppers his Xbox plans.
Yeah,
that's what.
that's
why they did it.
It's an interesting point. Yeah, maybe it's like, yeah, you could do that. You just can't make any game that you've ever done before.
Yeah,
it's like fucking between Konami and PlayStation. Fucking hell. Yeah, and fellas, it was also the month that gave us the Mortal Kombat movie, a reboot, if anything, and by all accounts, it actually wasn't bad. Not great.
Still haven't seen it.
Yeah, me neither. I've got it downloaded on my DVR, but
it's fine. It's fine. They did weird stuff. They created a character to insert in there as a protagonist, and we didn't need him at all. But like, there were some good fight moments.
Yeah. Did Scorpion versus Sub-Zero fight? Like, was it hype? Was it justified?
Yes, that's with that spoiler alert. That's the big final fight, and it's mostly pulled off.
Nice. Well, get over here.
Literally.
You could say that Mortal Kombat was a blockbuster for gaming aficionados, and Sony's focus on blockbusters began to create a little bit of unrest within its first-party studios. Terrible segues. It's late. I'm tired. You need to forgive me, okay? But Sony Bend found themselves at a center of a controversy which revealed the existence of The Last of Us remake. That's The Last of Us Part 1 remake after Last of Us Part 1 remaster, which came after Last of Us Part 1. What are we fucking doing with our lives? And also the kind of like the reveal that Days Gone 2 was cancelled or not even fucking took off the ground. Basically, Bend Studios had an idea for Days Gone 2. They pitched it, and Sony were like, nah. Yeah, we're good. We're good.
Metacritic score wasn't high enough, sorry.
Yeah, we're just going to fold you into helping out with The Last of Us remake, which is still fucking okay.
Yeah, we didn't hear from Naughty Dog all year, if I'm not mistaken.
Pretty much, yeah.
Which is, surprising. Apart from the remasters of the Uncharted games, which are coming out soonish.
But they didn't really make a big song and dance of it, did they?
Not at all.
Yeah, man.
This year they've been mainly focused on pictures from the set of Uncharted. So,
yeah, exactly, yeah.
Literally.
Fellas, and rounding off that month was... I can't help but laugh because it's like, this must have been the worst year for Blizzard, Activision Blizzard in 2021, because Jeff Kaplan, a stalwart at Blizzard, left prior to any kind of Overwatch 2, leaving the title without a commander-in-chief, without a game director. Obviously, he was an OG kind of face at Blizzard, and he was the face of Overwatch. He always used to go there in his fucking little nerdy fucking front of the green screen, giving his game development updates on a game that was slowly dying a horrid death. And then he had to be kind of carted out to kind of like say, hey, Overwatch 2 is a thing, when everyone was like, why do we need an Overwatch 2? Just update the fucking game, you dillholes. But anyway, he left. And there may have been a reason why he left coming up a little bit later. Fellas, Overwatch 2. We're going to be probably hearing some interesting news at the start of next year about Overwatch 2, so keep your ears peeled.
It's been cancelled.
No, it's potentially some good news. But that brings us to May.
Chris, that was the good news for gamers.
Oh, it's been cancelled. Yeah. I'm going to pick up the pace here a bit, fellas. But in May, we got Resident Evil Village, Mass Effect Legendary Edition, Subnautica Below Zero, Knockout City, and Biomutant. By all stretches of the imagination, a pretty fucking good month, right?
Yeah, I'd say so. Solid month. I really liked playing those Mass Effect games again. It ended up being some of my favorite experiences of the year.
Yeah.
I think it was. It's got to be Resident Evil Village that stole it, though, isn't it? Like that smashed it up.
Yeah.
Did you play that, Jamie? Did you play that the month that it came out?
So it's on the Christmas list, so
right.
I may be able to feedback on it in the coming weeks, but I was too scared of shitting myself. Plus, also, we kind of, I don't know if it was official, but we sort of like effectively soft locked it for ourselves on the basis that we might play it together.
Yeah.
We did a bit, yeah.
Yeah, I think the idea was to kind of like try and do some streams or content around it around Halloween. Obviously, that never transpired, but there you go.
Unfortunately, yeah. I remember, I know Mass Effect, I was surprised how much that sort of took your time, Jamie. I think you were surprised as well by how into that.
I mean, I played all three of them in full, and I got the platinums on 2 and 3. I could not have predicted the extent to which I was swept up with Mass Effect hysteria this year. Fair play.
It's funny, isn't it? Like, a good game with good narratives will always be good games with good narratives.
Yeah, a good idea is a good idea forever, as in the wise words of David Brent.
Do you want to know something damning?
Yeah.
Of the games in that month that all sound pretty good. The only one I played was Knockout City.
Wow. I got one better for you. I didn't play any of those.
I don't know how much you're missing out. We'll get some Resident Evil Village content at some point, and that's a lot, I think.
We got to figure out a way to stream it. You get it for your present. You stream it on Full Fat Jamie.
Yeah, my first stream in 18 months. It's just like, welcome back.
Hey, we need reasons to resub, right? But yeah, like a decent month in terms of game releases, but not such a big month in terms of like news items. Neil Druckmann was there to confirm that there was a story outline for The Last of Us Part 3, which was not saying much. Like, what does that fucking mean? Especially as we know the iteration that these kind of things go through, where you could say there's a story outline, but that story outline could be out in the trash in the next month. Who knows?
Totally.
And Sony, surprise, surprise, officially warns consumers that PS5s may be scarce for years as the global shortage of semiconductor chips continues to hit video game hardware. No fucking shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Still ongoing, still brutal.
Yeah.
But I want all of us now are quite happy in the fact that we're all PlayStation 5 owners, aren't we?
We're all genned up.
Yeah, we are all genned up. Transgendered, if you know.
Well,
what?
Yeah.
I mean, I still have a PS4 and a PS5. That's like.
So you're hermaphrodite? Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm representing both. Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Flying both flags. Love it.
Yeah. Now, June, fellas, was also quite a big month. And Jamie, this is something that you kind of teased at before, but Chivalry 2 came out, and I could not have been happier. I played the shit out of that game in the month of June and never again.
Yes, which is why I couldn't be happier that I didn't play the shit out of Chivalry 2 in June, because it cost like 40 quid, and I was like, I'm going to play that game twice, and then these two clowns are never going to be online again.
I'm trying to think. So I played it a lot in June, and then a bit in July, and then nothing since July.
And you know what? You talking us through your Chivalry 2 misadventures, Jonesy, has reminded me of a game that Chris was trying to reference earlier, of the time I did fall for the fucking trap of people pretending we're going to play something and we never fucking play it.
We did play it a couple of times.
We did play it a couple of times.
Yeah, you played it in the month that you bought it. Like, that's how it works.
And we'll play it some more.
Great.
Yeah, right. As soon as we play some more Chivalry 2. But a couple of other notable things. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, which was the kind of like their naming for the PS5 next-gen upgrade of Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Who's that character? Yuffie?
I think they say Yuffie. I've always known her as Yuffie, but yeah.
Yuffie.
There was a little bit of a DLC chapter, as it were. But fellas, a potential Game of the Year alert, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart was also released.
Bloody fantastic, absolutely gorgeous looking game. Really love that.
So
that was one of my first sort of games of the year that, of this year, that kind of almost like blew me away a little bit by how cool it was and how fun it was to play and how good it looked and everything. Like, it wasn't Game of the Year like that, but I mean, it was one that I was like, wow, shit, this game is
Agreed.
Now that I've got a PS5, fellas, maybe I can jump in.
Jump in it. Yeah, I would definitely recommend doing so. I agree with Jonesy wholeheartedly.
Yeah. So, fair to say, June, something for everyone in terms of games that came out, because we also got Chicory, A Colorful Tale, which is, by all accounts, some people's game of the year. I haven't played it, neither of you guys. Guilty Gear Strive, Mario Golf Super Rush, which I don't think anyone actually cares about, and Scarlet Nexus all came out. So, a little bit of something for everyone. But what wasn't for everyone, fellas, was basically the start of the tumble of the dominoes, which was news that God of War Ragnarok would join a long list of games that got delayed, including Horizon Forbidden West, Dying Light 2, Hogwarts Legacy, Gotham Knights, and so much more throughout the years. It was falling over like flies, dominoes, as I mentioned.
But it was also the least surprising thing ever, right? Like, so it's surprising that they thought they could get these games out in 2021 anyway. In a lot of these cases,
Yeah,
and like given everything that was going
True.
on, and I think we'd actually even speculated before that a lot of these games would get bumped.
yeah.
Not quite sure when they were going to get bumped to, but
IGN had a great feature where they tracked every game delay of 2021, and the final running tally, presuming we don't get another delay in the next week, was 59 games. So more than a game a week in terms of things getting delayed.
Christ. Yeah. And I guess in terms of like the God of War delay, at that point we hadn't seen any kind of like gameplay trailer. It was only so far the logo reveal, which
Yes.
which was the year prior, which
Correct.
we were quite surprised that they actually tacked on, even if it was a ballpark kind of thing, a date to it.
Right, and I don't know if you remember, but this delay was strange because it actually came out in an interview with Herman Hulst, where he basically said, oh yeah, God of War, which we're looking forward to releasing next year, and Horizon, which we're hopeful will come out this year. And it turns out, like, not only was he right about God of War, definitely didn't come out in 2021, but neither did Horizon in the end. They couldn't make that Christmas window.
And you're right, I remember that, because that was weird, because the next day Santa Monica Studios put out an official word like, oh yeah, God of War Ragnarok, it's
Yeah.
delayed. Yeah, totally going to tell you guys.
Still doesn't have a fucking release date.
Mental. Yeah,
Do you know what, the one I'll be most impressed by, even with the delay, if Dying Light 2 comes out in any capacity the way that they sort of originally sort of promised and touted that game, I'll still be amazed if it makes it into...
I reckon it's a lot. I think you're safe on that one.
I think it's coming out, but I'm with Jonesy in terms of what does it look like relative to what Jonesy saw in...
Oh,
was
right.
it like
2002?
Gamescom 2018? You're walking around with that string bag.
Yeah, long time ago it seems now. And then they were saying, oh, it's a world that you get to completely change, and you know your actions will have long-lasting consequences. And you just kept seeing the same water tower again and again. What happens if you drink water? What happens if you don't drink water? What happens if you don't want other people to drink water? You're like, this game's not going to be like the game that you said it was going to be back in 2018.
Well, what's happened, Jonesy, is they've pivoted and it's now a water management sim.
Oh yeah, maybe, yeah.
Big time.
It's do you know what they're really leaning into now, like just Dying Light stuff. It's all now about parkour and running around and like it being a cool environment. They've not quite said as much about the world altering decisions you'll be making going forward.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking they're sort of trying to pivot. That's the word, isn't it? they're pivoting pretty hard.
Yeah, it didn't help that their lead writer was one of the Me Too cancellations this year, and he very quietly drifted into the ether.
Yeah. Maybe it did help. Maybe that's one of the problems they had with the game was like it's nearly impossible to make that game, as everyone keeps finding out.
Yeah,
like with all these changing storylines and changing world, and they're like, thank God he's gone.
Yeah. Same with fucking what was it, Vampire the Masquerade 2 Bloodlines, which will probably never come out now. It's kind of like, oh, yeah, about that.
Yeah, scrap that. Back to the drawing board. Ah, fucking hell. Well, fellas, of course, in the month of June, it's always a good time because that's kind of like the E3 month. Okay, now the official E3 event we know had been canned, but what came up in its way was the E3 all digital event, which did take place. But before that took place, our good old friend Jeff Keighley with his shiny shoes kicked off the Summer Games Fest, which is his way of basically parasitically attaching to E3, just waiting in the wings to kind of overtake E3. And I think he's getting very close to it, especially if the big marquee event at the Summer Games Fest is to be believed, because we finally got fucking some sweet Elden Ring trailer-age. Is that a word?
Oh, yeah.
Trailer-age. I think that was Trailer-roonies. I think that was a really big fucking moment for a lot of kind of Dark Souls fans. Like it was a baller trailer, and we'd heard so little about it, and we didn't think at all that it would have come out at Keighley's Summer Game Fest. So that's pretty fucking good. It did come out with a little bit of a punchy release date. Remember, this was in June, and they said it's coming out in January 21st. We now know that that's been delayed, but it's only been delayed by a month and a couple of days to February 25th. So fair enough. Hopefully there won't be another delay. There you go. You never know. Anything is possible. But then obviously, following on from the Summer Games Fest, we did get the all-digital E3, which was, fellas, to be fair, a bit of a mixed bag. Like, excuse me, we did theorize that maybe E3's time's up. It's been cancelled. But not in that way. It just kind of like seems less and less a attractive prospect for developers and publishers. I mean, Sony weren't there. EA wasn't there. They're doing their own things. I mean, to be fair, EA has historically been doing their own things. But some people were there. Microsoft went all in. Ubisoft tried to go all in. Didn't really kind of pan out. And hey, Nintendo were there with their fucking treehouse. But we got to see some Starfield. We got to see some Redfall, which was Arcane's kind of co-op thing. And guess what, fellas? Again, we got some Breath of the Wild 2. So another big fucking trailer that people were kind of very pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, it was, I think a mixed bag is a good way of describing E3. Like, I remember when we did our post-E3 podcast, we were talking about if we had a game of the show. And my game of the show was Forza Horizon 5, I remember. And my feelings on Forza Horizon 5 as a game of the show are similar to my feelings on it as a game of the year, which is kind of like, oh, cool, yeah. But of course, like, there was never much risk of it not delivering on what it promised. I'm just a little bit disappointed that nothing surprised me to usurp it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Like, it would have been nice to have been wowed. And, like, Starfield looks promising, but we need to see more. Breath of the Wild, very much in the same boat. Like, it was another cinematic trailer that didn't give away too much more.
If I recall, it was even like AG came on and he was like, oh, you want to hear more stuff about Breath of the Wild? Here's a trailer, you fucking trash bags.
Dikembe Mutombo, what's his name?
No,
not reference, not tracking. Never mind.
Football reference?
I believe it's actually a basketball reference.
Wow.
Believe it or not, that's how cultured I am.
Well,
in touch with our American brethren.
I like it. Now, fellas, one of my favorite things of the year that came out in June was the conspiracy theories that began to emerge around Blue Box Games and Abandoned and the studio lead Hasan Karaman, and is it Hideo Kojima? Is it Silent Hill?
This is shocking that this started in June and it's still. Do you know what? It's just died in like the last month, I'd say. This is shocking that it's been around for so long.
It's going to kick off again, buddy, as soon as that Abandoned interactive experience comes out again.
Yeah, because the last one was so good.
Yeah. I'm looking back at our actual videos, our podcast, and our thumbnails, and yeah. Like we had the truth behind those Hideo Kojima rumors was in June, and then as late as the very end of July, we had. I'm not saying it's Kojima, but it is Kojima. So like it was the whole summer we were talking about this thing.
Yeah, it's a great time. I love the fucking speculation, and I love the discourse that we can get into, because obviously we all have different perspectives, and while a lot of the time we kind of fall on the yes/no fence-sitting kind of ring, I think with this one there was a little bit more clearly defined, and yeah, I had a good time chatting about it, regardless of whatever the fucking outcome will eventually turn out to be. I will say though that
Chris is still waiting for the Iron Man Robert Downey Jr. thing where where Kojima stands at a podium and goes, "The truth is, I am Hasan Karaman."
Yeah, exactly. So he takes a bite of a burger. But I will say that I did pay Jamie £5 with our bet where I said it's definitely fucking Kojima. And, happy to give you that money because that was £5 well spent. And I can say that I may still be getting that £5 back plus interest. So never know.
Hang on, we never discussed interest.
Well, I get my £5 back, and then I get £5.
How about as
deal.
interest? I walk up to your house with a box of oranges, and then invert the box and drop all the oranges on the floor.
What does
because
it mean?
Because the inversion of orange, Chris, is blue, and the oranges were in a box, which is blue. It's the blue box.
Yeah, but Jamie, if you take Hassan Karaman and put it in Google Translate,
yeah.
Oh man.
£5 is actually the Arabic.
I had
for
so much
Hill.
fun. I had so much fun with all that stuff. I'm not even going to complain. It was great.
I agree.
It was one of those where you could have been like some really cool, dull, podcasts that we did a few times, and then we had these amazing stories to talk about.
yeah, it definitely gave us fuel for the podcast fire. But this is what I like. I like going into these rabbit holes, and I know Jonesy likes going into the rabbit holes as well. And it's nice when the two rabbit hole tips touch.
Yep.
And then it's just a tunnel.
Then it is a tunnel.
I guess so.
Tips tunnel.
All right, fellas. July, kind of a bit of a mixed bag. We got obviously F1 2021, which is pretty good. Jamie, you've been playing that with Steph almost weekly, right? I'm sure you've wrapped up now, but
yeah, shout out to the Steph and the Techno-Ovo gang for running a weekly F1 2021 league, basically. Yeah, it's good fun.
You wrapped it up. Where did you?
Wrapped up. I finished second in the championship.
Oh,
yes.
wow.
Although under
the Lewis Hamilton
circumstances.
of your era.
Yeah, well, actually,
brutal.
kind of the reverse, which is I cemented second place by winning the final Grand Prix.
Oh wow, okay, decent, nice. We also saw Legend of Zelda: Skyward Sword HD, which I know we all kind of picked up and enjoyed thoroughly. So we're going to move on. We're not going to need to talk about that anymore. Don't even ask us. Death's Door was a game that came out that I think, at least Jamie, I know you and I are quite interested in. Jonesy, how did you come down on Death's Door?
I'm always at Death's Door, mate.
He's knocking on it right now. Look at his face.
It kind of looks like it. Yeah, I don't know what's fucking gotten into you, Jonesy. You usually got more energy than this.
It's late. It's late, and I've got young kids who always like getting up at 6 a.m.
What's happened? What are we in fucking Tenet and it's been inverted where I'm okay to kind of go for the longer length this time around, and you guys are like,
No, man, I'm all good.
super low energy.
I'm happy to be here.
That is the least
Raring.
convincing thing that you've said all podcast.
Raring to go.
I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy to be here.
But there's more games. Pokemon Unite, I'm sure we've all played it. And The Ascent, which I do know that you guys have played. And we even tried to do play it
The
all.
Ascent was cool, yeah.
You guys managed to play it. I tried to play with you guys, and I had some kind of bug where I couldn't even fucking start the game in a party. So I gave up on it.
Although The Ascent was another one where, like we've said, I picked it up, played it for like a few days on the trot, and was like, oh yeah, what a great game, and then never touched it again. Like, was like, oh yeah, that's gone.
Proper Game Pass fodder. Like, solid game, but like, it's Game Pass fodder. I'll be real with you.
Yeah. Which is a thing now, which is interesting. But fellas, the biggest kind of thing for July in terms of the gaming industry as a whole, because it's pretty fucking momentous, was the bombshell report that Activision Blizzard were being sued by the state of California over its history of toxicity and a frat boy behavior. This was like opening of the floodgates of fucking letting Blofeld into Activision Blizzard's world to be the author of all their pain.
Yeah.
It just kept coming as well, didn't it?
Oh, someone kept coming, and I think that was part of the problem.
Oh, you're talking about what happened inside the Cosby suite.
Yeah, I was talking about the rape, yeah.
Fucking hell. This was one of those ones, I think at the time we talked about, like, wading into the swamp. Like, sometimes we make tactical decisions, or like we make decisions based on what's best for us and what's best for the podcast and subsequently our audience, based on, the nature of these stories and how charged they are and what they're charged by. But this was such a big deal that rumbled on for so long that inevitably it became certain times the focus of multiple episodes of the podcast this year, because you just couldn't turn a blind eye. It was shocking, and I'm glad the swamp is slowly being drained, hopefully. Just got the big BK to take down.
The big BK. I like it. Burger King, yeah?
Yeah, Burger King, the biggest problem that Activision Blizzard face right now, Burger King.
Yeah. Well, look, I know I'm kind of like making light of the situation, and I guess that's kind of the luxury of hindsight. But yeah, as Jamie said, when
luxury of being a white man.
Hell yeah, baby. Living like a king. No, when it first came out, obviously we were a lot more sensitive to it, and it doesn't mean that anything that has happened and anything that people kind of experienced there has been lessened just because we're kind of making light of it. But, people's lives were ruined by some, to use their terminology, bad actors, which I never kind of understood that kind of way of talking. But yeah, obviously things needed to change. Things are changing, probably too slow. And I think I'd like to throw out there that the SuperShow are supporters of a better ABK.
A better ABK?
Yeah, isn't that like their hashtag that they use? ABK being Activision Blizzard King.
Oh, I see. I thought we were doing Bobby Kotick again on BK. I was like, what does the A stand for?
A better Bobby Kotick.
Is it like anti-Bobby Kotick?
I mean, yeah, maybe. But yeah, I'm speaking for you guys. I don't fucking
yes, no,
we stand in solidarity with Activision Blizzard and all the victims, and hope that those at the top will topple.
The one that them, I think one of the sort of interesting things about that story was good for the employees of Activision Blizzard is it was almost like the high ups kept trying to obviously sort of handle it and put a bit of a stopper in the situation, but every time they tried to do that, something else would come out and someone would keep it going, and they'd manage to say, no, you can't like shut us up, you bastards. You've been like screwing us over like all this time, and they seem to have kept the momentum, and a lot of people got on their side. And then now I think the latest thing is the union. They're talking about unionizing, and they've been told not to unionize, and it's a bad idea. Sounds like it might be a good idea for Activision Blizzard employees. So
Jesus, it might sound like a good idea for Activision Blizzard to just fucking shut their mouths and just not.
They keep getting it wrong, don't they? They keep putting their foot in it. They definitely do.
It's honestly like, Jamie, you mentioned it earlier about like some jokes with Ricky Gervais and kind of like David Brent. Like, this is the most David Brent thing of like trying to fix something but doing it in exactly the wrong way. And it's just like, dude, I don't know. It's like anyone looking at it from the outside is like, you don't say the things that you're saying. You don't like, get rid of J. Allen Brack and replace them with like a co-leadership where the woman is getting paid less than the male co-leadership, and then only their.
Chris, you do if you want to sign a TV series based around the events of it, and that you need some more fodder.
This is
multiple seasons.
I see. This is all setting up for Moneyball 2, the revenge of Bobby K.
Kotick's revenge. Yeah.
I get it. Jesus. Well, you know what, fellas, we had the sour, we needed some sweet because Nintendo announced the Nintendo Switch OLED with no Pro variant or 4K graphics or DLSS anywhere to be seen. And like I mentioned earlier, there was a collective, weird.
I still don't really get it, I'll be honest. I hope people are enjoying their OLED screens, but it just seems pointless.
Hey, Nintendo needs to keep that money train going somehow. Yeah. Moneyball, baby. Valve, at the same time, announced the Steam Deck. Well, I say at the same time, in the same month. It is kind of mad to me that, like, Nintendo announced the Switch OLED, a handheld device, and then Valve were like, yeah, Steam Deck's like fucking PC in your palm.
Yeah, bizarre. In fact, again, looking at our podcast coverage of the two topics, those episodes were back to back.
Oh, wow.
When we even doing a comparison, I think we were even doing a breakdown of like Steam Deck versus the OLED and sort of saying,
I believe it.
I think you're right, because we're talking about like pricing, right? Like the entry level Steam Deck was quite punchy with its pricing, quite aggressive.
I was going to say the Steam Deck stuff also leaked quite early. Do you remember when we were calling it the Steam Pal for a while?
Yes, Steam Pal, yeah.
Steam Pal. I still think that's a better name because Steam Deck just sounds like a steaming pile of shit.
Yeah.
But anyway,
it's also too close to Stream Deck. Like it's too.
And also with an Australian accent, Deck sounds like Dick.
Steam Deck.
There you go. There you go. So
Steam Deck.
Get your
Come on, do you want to have a little go on a Steam Deck?
Yes, the answer is always yes.
Fits right in your hands.
Go ahead and push those buttons, boy.
The interesting thing was that they had slated it for a December release. It got pushed to February 2022 because of quote-unquote supply chain issues.
Well, what year don't you want to launch new hardware that's going to require a shortage of components? 2021. But
yeah, exactly.
If hindsight is 2020, so
like Gabe was on his fucking super yacht on the coast of fucking New Zealand, thinking to himself, "Well, I can't get my hands on a PlayStation, even though I own like fucking one of the biggest game distribution platforms. But I'll tell you what, we can definitely deliver Steam Decks by Christmas." A bit of wishful thinking, but Jamie, you pre-ordered one. You could at this stage, if they'd kept their word, be holding onto a Steam Deck of your very own.
It's true. It's true. As someone who literally dusted off a Nintendo Switch a few hours ago as I prepared to travel for the sake of the festive season, I would much rather be packing a Steam Deck in my bag than a Nintendo Switch. But
oh, fuck yeah.
You know what? You make do with what you got.
This is true. Speaking of making do with what you get, Ubisoft, they announced a 6v6 free-to-play FPS title called X-Defiant, which by all means could have been something that we could have been quite into, right? Like that fast-paced firefight. But they kind of fucked it because it wasn't only a fast-paced firefight game, fellas. By their own admission, it's a fast-paced firefight meets punk rock mosh pit. And things got fucking weird, fellas. It was a Tom Clancy game, X-Defiant. Mm-hmm. They announced this shit. They were like, Tom Clancy. It was very punk rock mosh pit. It looked kind of trash. They resurrected Third Echelon to kind of go into it. And I was not happy. And I don't think the internet was happy either. And funnily enough, fellas, we haven't heard anything about X-Defiant since.
That we have not. And you know what? The funny thing is that like a fast-paced firefight meets punk rock mosh pit would have been far more satisfactory had the fast-paced firefight side of that double whammy, been satisfied. You look at the footage they put out, it looked chunky, it looked slow, there wasn't the fluidity you wanted from a fast-paced FPS game. The only thing it really had going for it was tacking on the Tom Clancy name and using that as a reason to create different factions with different abilities, but otherwise it didn't really appeal. It looked like a non-starter out the gate.
Yeah, I think it's just another example of, like the French trying to prove that they're cool and sexy in every sphere, but not when it comes to computer games. And it was hilarious because I remember when we watched that reveal trailer and we all laughed and said, what the absolute fuck do Ubisoft think they're doing? And then, of course, it just made us all reminisce about all the other stupid decisions Ubisoft have made in the last couple of years. The way that they, anyone remember the game where you could fight the BLM? You could bring them down.
Oh, Jesus God, yeah.
Which was also a Tom Clancy game, their mobile game.
Wait a minute. Did Hyperscape come out in 2021?
Oh,
was that 2020?
That feels like a 2020 to me.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was well and truly it was last year. But again, like fucking bizarre misfire.
But it wouldn't be the last time that Ubisoft had a misfire in 2021. We'll get to it. Man, fucking hell. But yeah, EA Play also took place that month, and it was headlined by the next-gen remake of Dead Space. There was some Battlefield stuff in there as well, back in the time when people were still hyped for Battlefield because it wasn't a broken, buggy mess. But yeah, Dead Space is the thing, and it's still got a punchy kind of like release date of next year. Let's see if they stick to it.
Right.
Looking forward to it. Hopefully
big time.
It comes out and is absolutely amazing. But
Makes perfect sense, right?
See.
A game all about dark corridors being nicely lit coming out on a next-gen console. Perfect.
Yeah, a couple of ambient lighting effects and ray tracing.
Honestly, it's literally the same thing as the original Splinter Cell. It's a game defined by the fact that, like, oh, look, this is a really dank area, but there's lights everywhere.
Yeah.
Put it on next-gen hardware.
Fair enough. Fellas, going into August, we had some big fucking game releases. Axiom Verge 2, a game which was a sequel to a game that I never played, so who the fuck knows, but people were hyped about it. The much-lauded 12 Minutes was released, which turned out to be a bit of a fucking wank fest. Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut. It was not good.
Did you finish it, Jonesy, 12 minutes?
No.
Do you know that? How do you know how the story ends?
No, I do, because you told me on the podcast.
Oh, I told you.
So I'm trying. I can't remember if I finished it or if you just. No, I didn't. I didn't finish it. I got very close, but I didn't. But I know how the story ends because you guys told me how it ends.
Okay.
12 minutes a bag of dicks. That's all I'm going to say.
You just didn't like it because you just got in the bed and slept for an hour and a half or something.
It's the opposite of a Chris game. You don't have like the patience or the imagination for those kind of games.
I thought it was a cool game. I really liked the writing and stuff. I thought it was cool. I thought the interactions were fun and stuff. But hey, maybe if I'd have played it like dry and not
dry,
I hadn't had the
non-lubricated.
If I hadn't had you guys sort of like telling me how it goes down, then maybe I wouldn't have enjoyed it quite as much. But no, I thought it was cool. I thought it was fun.
Well, something that you did enjoy, Jonesy, that came out in August was Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut.
Yes, bloody absolutely loved it. I thought it was fantastic.
With a little bit of Sticky Icky Island.
Pushed me to finish the game. So there you go.
There you go. And Psychonauts 2 came out, a game that I jumped on straight away and then fell off very quickly as life took over, and I haven't been back to it, even though I'd be meaning to, along with another game that came out, which was No More Heroes 3, which I was really keen on, but again, just didn't fucking get into it. But there is one last game that I wanted to talk about, fellas, that came out in August, which is a biggie, because both of you kind of jumped in on it, and I think you really fucking enjoyed it. And that was Aliens Fireteam Elite, Jamie.
I don't know why he's shaking his head. We played this a few times. We played this a few times. We got Steph involved. We're definitely going to play a little bit more.
This a few
We're probably
times.
I reckon we're halfway through. We're having a good time. We're having a laugh. We're having fun.
We're probably halfway through. Jonesy, it's taken us so long to finish that game that it's on fucking Game Pass now. I didn't even need to buy it.
You did at the time if you wanted to hear the gorgeous sounds of the pulse rifle.
I don't know. I haven't even seen Aliens. I've got no nostalgia for the sounds of the pulse rifle. I got conned into this. It's absolutely ridiculous. Biggest disappointment of the year, 2K21. Aliens Fireteam Elite. You heard it here first. Worst game.
Wow.
Balan Wonderworld saved by the atrocity that was Aliens Fireteam Elite.
Wow, Jesus! I think Amnestus can have some words with you.
No, it's very good. A lot of fun with friends. I want to play more.
You missed out another game which came out that month, which was good, which was Road 96, which was one I was actually looking forward to off the back of E3. It's a nice country traversal game with some weird storylines and some interesting ideas. Which is kind of what you said about 12 minutes, right? Which I said is a bag of dicks. So I don't know what to believe anymore. Very, very different game. This,
which game has more incest? Play to find out.
Wow,
it's a toss up.
Fellas, well look, in August we also got Gamescom, and of course our old friend Jeff Keighley was back with Gamescom opening night live.
He's everywhere.
He is everywhere. He's like
true.
AIDS. And fans were treated to first looks at Saints Row, the reboot, DokeV, which looked absolutely fucking insane with its photorealistic backgrounds and kind of like Pokemon-esque
best game of
features.
2022, I'm saying it now.
Big time. I'll vouch for that.
It's possible, yeah. Anything's possible. We also got to see Midnight Suns and a bunch of other trailers that I don't remember. But what was happening in that month is Activision finally revealed Call of Duty Vanguard. Fucking took them long enough. It might have been the latest that they've waited to show off the next Call of Duty for the year. And much like its rumors, it was confirmed to be a World War II setting. Obviously, it's kind of released now to, I don't know, some fanfare.
It's fine.
It's fine. I think
confirming once again that they've completely run out of ideas with what to do with Call of Duty.
Yeah, exactly.
Warzone ruined it for them.
Yeah. But fellas, yeah, go on, Jamie.
No, I was going to say I'm starting to maybe come around to that idea, yeah. I don't know that I like Warzone being a thing anymore. If it means that this is, like, every Call of Duty event has to be a Warzone event now, it's a bit of a bummer.
Well, yeah. It's like having more children than two, right? The third one's always going to be a disappointment.
Yeah, yes. Maybe they should just get divorced and split the assets. Go one, go one, go one.
I mean, the way that Activision Blizzard are going, there may be a fucking divorce coming out. Who knows?
Jeez, yeah, true.
And then Joseph Fares can make a game about it. Speaking of games, fellas, September brought a whole host of games. It's a big fucking month because there are a load of games released in September. We're talking Sonic Colors Ultimate, which was the remaster with the interestingly broken launch on the Switch, we had The Artful Escape, which was a game that you two absolutely fucking loved, and I have yet to play, and I want to play it because of how
technically, it is a game because it falls in like the 60% range. So it's very enjoyable.
Do you know what? I'm not going to bite. In fact, I'm going to go one better than not biting. I'm going to double down by saying The Artful Escape is one of the best video games of the year.
Wow, Jesus Christ!
It's very cool. Definitely check it out if you haven't checked it out already and you're keen to.
Yeah, I am keen, and that might be a Christmas to New Year game if ever there was one.
Yeah.
Life is Strange, True Colors also came out. WarioWare Get It Together. Yeah? No? Nothing? Good? Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't
Life is Strange is on the Christmas list, so look forward to hot takes on that one in the
How have
new year.
you not already finished that 3 times? I thought you'd be all over that. It's got Jamie written all over it.
I'm a big advocate for the Life is Strange series. I think they've done great work in the past. This one came, as we're demonstrating by talking through these titles, came out at a tricky time. And I bought at least 2 of the games we're going to talk about still this month. So
right, yeah. So I'm going to keep the big one for the end. But Diablo 2 Resurrected came out in that month. Jamie, you and I both tried it and didn't click with us at all. Death Stranding's Director's Cut came out. Amazon's MMO New World came out and stole Asmongold away from World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy 14. And eFootball 2022, fellas, came out as a fucking glitch fest, the laughing stock of the gaming world. But then there were 2 big games that came out, and there was Kenna, Bridge of Spirits, which was very much in standing for one of the prettiest games released this year.
Yeah, for sure. I was very positive on Kenna by the end of it. I think at the time we said, if nothing else, it was just a really strong debut from a studio making their first game.
Yeah.
The visuals and the aesthetics were obviously on point. I thought that the combat and the exploration, delivered simple but effective in that. I think that's actually kind of almost in a nutshell, simple but effective. The platforming was very familiar, the combat was very familiar, but it also ups the ante in certain points when it comes to sort of boss fights and a few narrative hits that I didn't expect. Yeah, very positive on Kenna. Yeah,
nice. And then rounding off that month was Deathloop, a game that fucking did really well at the Game Awards.
Yeah,
and did really well with the player base, unless your name is SkillUp.
I was just going to say, I was just seeing a really interesting review that SkillUp put out last week.
Deathloop went from the game that everyone was giving 10 out of 10s to the game that it's scary to be a fan of in public. Just
kind of weird, man. Yeah. It did kind of pass me by. I didn't kind of bite with Deathloop. But yeah, you've both played it, right?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't pick it up. So, Jamie, you played it and you finished it.
I did finish it. I really liked it, but I think for me, again, you watch the SkillUp video and he leans very heavily into the fact that Prey and Prey Mooncrash, the DLC for that game, informed a lot of what Deathloop did, except that Prey and Prey Mooncrash kind of did it better. I'm lucky in that while I did play and really like Prey, that's a hard sentence to say, which also rhymes, I'm not super... Yeah, exactly. I wasn't that familiar with Arcane's previous stuff, and I'd never clicked with Dishonored 1 and 2, which is why when I did click with Deathloop, it felt better. I really liked the softer take on the roguelike elements compared to something like Returnal. I liked going in with a specific goal in mind that I created myself, whether that was getting a certain power or a certain weapon, and I liked knowing that I could save that weapon and have it indefinitely to aid me on further runs. When it all came together, I enjoyed myself. It did click. Didn't feel like a true next-gen game. Didn't feel like a 10 out of 10, as GameSpot and IGN would have tried to have us believe. But I liked it a hell of a lot more than SkillUp did. So there you go.
Yeah, and man, so I didn't play Deathloop, and I kind of got to the point where it's like, I'm not going to play this game.
Right? Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that happens, right?
Yeah, not because I don't want to, but just because I'm like, it's going to pass me, and that's okay.
Totally.
So what I did is Jones, I know Jones is going to fucking hate me for saying this. I watched some video essays about the story and its ending. And
you always ruin it for yourself. This is the thing. I find that.
But Jonesy, how is it ruining it if I know that I'm not going to play this game.
Do you know what it is? There's also a part of me that's like, I resent that way of doing it because it's almost like you saying, well, I haven't played any games ever, but I've watched the videos and the video essays, so I know how they will finish. So I know as much as the people that have played them. So you can have a conversation where it sounds like you know like everything about all the games. Have you ever played any of these games? No, I've never played a single video game in my life. Like, it's such a weird... I know that's to the nth degree, and it's fair enough if you've done that, but in my head, there is some person who's out there not ever playing any game and just watching all the video essays.
I mean, it's possible, man.
Pretending.
Hey, there are so many fucking games coming out. Like, you can't fucking play them all.
Nah, you're absolutely right. You're right. I'm only teasing you. No, I think that's a totally valid way
and I remember Jamie being very positive about the story, and I was like, you know what? I want to know what this story is all about. And I'm glad I did, because that story to me sounds fucking ridiculous, but super cool. Like, I'm really into that kind of thing.
It makes it difficult for me as they keep packaging all these things in roguelikes, and it's not a genre that I'm that keen on anyway, because I don't like the execution as much as I like the old school sort of like
but like Jamie mentioned, like
narratives.
it's the easiest fucking roguelite that there fucking is, right?
It's definitely extremely. It's a game designed to be completable, even more so than something like Hades. It's a game that's designed to like, hey, you're gonna finish Deathloop. Just if in doubt, do what we tell you. You'll finish this game.
Yeah. So, Jamie, like, story, man, like the reveal and the ending and all that stuff. Obviously, we're not going to get into spoiler territory, so don't worry. But yeah, just your general kind of like.
I liked it. I think I liked more that it did to a much lesser degree. I.e., there was much less of it in terms of line numbers and character numbers than something like Hades. But it did do the drip feed thing of, you're going to do all these loops, but you're also going to learn more about the characters, the environment, and this landscape, this weird place, how you ended up here, the role you play in it. And I think I said at the time when I first played it, it does things inside the first 2 hours, which I still won't spoil just in case someone plays it. But like, one thing I will say that happens inside the first half an hour is you run into an alternate version of yourself. And that happens very early on, so I don't consider it a spoiler. And that immediately just makes you go like, there's stuff going on here, and finding out what that stuff is was intriguing. The very, very, very ending, so like post-reveal, like I was a bit like, oh, that wrapped up quite quickly, but that might have just been the nature of the ending that I chose. Not necessarily the reveals about the ending, but when the choice is back in the hands of the player and you're like, you know the info, now resolve it. The resolution was quite swift. But not a negative.
Nice.
Merely an observation.
Merely an observation. Fellas, Apple and Epic's drawn-out lawsuit concluded that month as well, with neither side really coming out on top. And I don't know, gaming industry for the worse? Worse for wear? Who knows?
So what, this was Apple not allowing Epic to basically get around the Apple Store by selling things in the inline shop.
Exactly.
Right, and then they came out and they said that they... Well, I'm trying to remember what even the result of the lawsuit was. They said you can't stop them from selling stuff.
Yeah, that was basically why it was like a bit of a stalemate, which the Apple won all but one of the actual suits.
Yeah.
But the one that Epic won was basically the judge agreeing, like, look, you can't stop these people trying to sell stuff. Like, they have a right. So I don't know how that will pan out, but it wasn't considered a disaster for either party, essentially.
And we broke it down, didn't we? We said, like, essentially it's just billionaires fucking fighting with billionaires over billions. So it's like, okay, fine. Right. You do you, bro. Some interesting stuff was NVIDIA's GeForce Now, which is kind of like a Stadia-esque service. They had a leak with a number of upcoming game titles. Some, confirmed to be accurate, but the list did include the likes of Titanfall 3, an untitled BioShock game, to name a few. Like, there's some interesting punchy things going on there. It was eventually come out, NVIDIA did confirm the existence of this list, but said that the list was purely speculative.
Bullshit. They're all real games.
And in fact, we didn't always touch on it because they were always very minute stories, but there were multiple stories throughout the rest of the year of games being announced and all perfectly matching up with the leak. One example that I have to hand was Ruined King, a League of Legends story, which was revealed like 2 or 3 months after the leak happened. And again, they had the name of the game and its planned release date perfect in the leak.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. And there was also news that BioShock, was it BioShock Isolation?
What as a planned name?
Yeah, is meant to be the thing. Effectively kind of saying like, hey, we should be hearing some BioShock news soon.
But BioShock is on the horizon.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. I think Jonesy and I were talking the other week about a rumoured setting for the new BioShock being Arctic.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's why I think the name bandied about was BioShock. I'm pretty sure it was Isolation.
The only thing I worry about that is that there was Alien Isolation, bit of a crossover.
Yeah.
To be fair though, BioShock Isolation kind of makes sense if you're in the Arctic. You're pretty isolated.
Yeah. It's actually a survival game.
The rumor is
with no other
BioShock
characters.
Isolation. What's it?
I say it's actually a survival game with no other characters. Hence the name Isolation. And it's basically like the forest. You got to manage your heat, manage your hunger. You try not to freeze to death.
No, it's you and you play a boy who's like 12 years old, and there's a slightly older girl.
Oh god, here we go.
You're just being chased by a big daddy the whole time.
Oh, we've got to save this for another day because it will launch into too big a conversation. But I watched a video essay that used Annihilation, the film Annihilation, to talk about the issue nowadays with people when they're reviewing or critiquing films, doing so based around these hyper-literal interpretations of plots, looking at storylines or plots as things that need to be deciphered or solved rather than just interpreted. And it was a big rant, and all I could think about was you and...
please send me the link to that. That sounds great.
I will.
And I can imagine the scene that they kind of dissected that.
Yeah, he literally cuts in like video, like clips from all those ending explained in all caps videos and be like, these like the worst thing on the internet right now because this isn't the point.
Yeah.
You're missing
no, but
the point.
that's the opposite of what we talked about with Snowpiercer. When I know what you mean. They're the sorts of films where you have a more of like an ending which isn't it doesn't explain everything. But there's nothing wrong with that. Like that's a completely different thing. I think where you like
it just reminded me of Snowpiercer.
I'm trying to think of a great example. Like what's the one with
2001: A Space Odyssey?
Yeah, or the Leonardo
Shutter
DiCaprio
Island.
one. No, the one with the little toes.
Inception.
Like that's leave it. You don't need to talk about Inception. That's a great film. Just leave it where it ends.
Yeah.
But that chick and that boy getting eaten by that polar bear. There's nothing to figure out there. That's nature.
I love how fucking hard you come down on it. Anyway,
they getting eaten.
Moving on from some speculation to some more confirmations, because we had PlayStation's, I don't know, what was it? Was it a State of Play?
Something like that.
PlayStation Showcase.
It must be, right?
Some shit.
Something like that.
But yeah, we had loads of fucking reveals here, which was Knights of the Old Republic remake, Spider-Man 2, Wolverine, fucking of all things. God of War Ragnarok got a fucking gameplay trailer. And hey, we got to see Thor's
Thick boy Thor,
chunky body. And apparently the internet lost their minds over it. Not necessarily in a good way. A lot of people were kind of a little bit bummed out by it. But as it turns out, it seems to make fucking a great kind of... seems to make sense, fellas, is what I'm going to say.
Yeah. It was a great showcase, by the way.
Yeah, it was
good.
properly one of the highlights of the year.
One that I can't remember where you were, Chris. I think you might have been busy, but one that I watched live with Jonesy. I don't know if you remember, we were on a chat together, and those moments where it was the Venom reveal in the Spider-Man 2 trailer, and then the when we realized that Wolverine was Wolverine. Great moments.
It was very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, where was I?
That's what I thought was so funny.
I'm probably in Greece again, wasn't I?
Yeah, I think you were away because I don't think. I vaguely remember Jonesy and I doing the podcast where we talked about it without you as well.
Yeah. I must have been in Greece.
Yeah. But that's what I found so surprising was after we sort of got excited about everything that they showed off in that showcase, and after the fact, and then everyone online started reacting so negatively to Thor being a thick boy, and it was like, what are you talking about? Like, it looks wicked. It totally fits what you'd imagine. It's all good.
That was exactly it, Jonesy. I think we did the reaction to the showcase. And then we came back next week and we were like, oh, by the way, we have to talk about Thor because we didn't know that would become the talking point.
Yeah, it was weird. It was because I want to say that over the next week or so, they would sort of gradually releasing out sort of images of the
That's right,
yeah, because it wasn't in the trailer.
No, they were sort of like gradually feeding them out, and that was quite a cool way to do it, because you saw the trailer and then you got to get a really good look at the characters, and they sort of put them out with their name tags and stuff. And yeah, people got really annoyed about the fact that Thor wasn't some like roided up Hollywood hunk. He wasn't Chris Hemsworth. That's what people were annoyed about.
But I love shit like that. Like when you take that fucking risk to subvert expectations, I think it's cool. And I think that's, God of War is a game to kind of do that. I think that's pretty cool.
But Chris, he gets in the boat the same way. So
yeah, exactly. So fucking trash game.
No, lazy devs.
And I think it was shortly after that Corey Barlog was confirmed to not be the director on the game.
Right.
Correct, yeah.
Which was a bit of a bummer for a lot of people, but hey, there we go. Fellas, moving on to October, we saw the release of FIFA 22, which is like, okay, big fucking wow. Who knew that was going to happen? Alan Wake Remastered, which pleases us no end. Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, which is kind of a Smash Bros. Take, but by all means not very good. Although one cool thing about that, did you hear that they've added Garfield?
Oh, right. That's a cool addition. Does he have a lasagna-based move?
I don't know what his moveset is, but there is a hidden mechanic, if you will, to the game. Some news that's came out a long time ago, but, well, relatively, like within the last month. But you cannot play Garfield on Mondays.
That's
cool.
Bullshit. He's lying.
I like that.
No, I'm being dead serious, Jamie.
That's cool. I like that.
No, it's not, because like, what if you're having a tournament? It's cool on paper. You can only do it once. Like,
well, yeah, but like Garfield hates Mondays, so he's not going to fucking show up to the
right.
All-Star Brawl.
I'll let them have it.
Hell yeah. Also saw the release of Far Cry 6, Metroid Dread, Back 4 Blood, Guardians of the Galaxy, Age of Empires 4. Fellas, what a fucking stacked month that turned out to be.
It was a wham month. So wham, in fact, that I didn't play some of the most critically acclaimed games of the year that came out that month as a result of how wham it was.
Yeah, I've still got to get my hands on Metroid Dread. But hey, we all played Back 4 Blood and we all enjoyed it. And it's something that I'd like to try and get another session in soon, hopefully.
Agreed. Very good game.
Hell yeah.
Also very good, that I know Jonesy and I both very much enjoyed, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Very good. Really enjoyed
shit. The next page of the document also has Riders Republic and Mario Party Superstars. So an even bigger month than fucking anticipated. We also got our first look at Tom Holland as Nathan Drake in the first look trailer for the Uncharted movie. Ghost Recon Frontline was another Ubisoft free-to-play shooter, was planned and a closed test, but it was mysteriously cancelled at the last minute with an entire fucking studio presumably left to twiddle their thumbs.
Bizarre.
Man, after the X Defiant thing, it's just kind of like, are any fucking Ubisoft studios safe? Who fucking knows?
I mean, yeah. And this one was fucking tarnishing Ghost Recon's name. Like, Tom Clancy, motherfucker's dead. He wrote a bunch of different books. Like, pick up that corpse. Ghost Recon means something. And Frontline didn't look like it got it.
Well, Frontline was this thing where it's like, is it a battle royale? Is it like a 6v6? What is it? And I think that might have been the problem, is like they didn't even fucking know themselves when they revealed that. They were like, yeah, it's a battle royale, but it's not really.
And yet, the Division free-to-play thing that looked good and leaked during the summer is still nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, Heartland?
Exactly. Yeah. Focused on actually one of the better parts of the Division formula. Like a logical free-to-play Division. Never mind. Yeah. I'm not going to try and pick Eve's brain here.
But fellas, another big thing that happened in that month was Twitch was hacked, leaking a list of their top earners in the process, fucking exposing the rich bourgeoisie Twitch streamers, as it were. But it's like, people were fucking surprised by this. But then again, it's like, it's not difficult, fella. Take how many subs they've got, times it by a certain amount. What is it, like? At least $2.5.
Yeah. It's 2.5 or 3.5, depending on their status, right?
I was the biggest takeaway for me from this whole thing, I think, which Chris mentioned at the time, was if you actually look at how many of the people in like the top 100, what you would consider like earning enough money for it to be a full-time job, and it wasn't as many people as you'd think.
Yeah, it was like 0.1% or some shit.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy that there's a very small proportion of the streamers who make enough money for it to be like a full-time job, given how many people stream like it's their full-time job.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah.
Also strange. Critical Role #1. Knew they'd be big. Didn't know they'd be #1. Fair enough.
Yeah. And especially when you consider that was just subs. Didn't take into account bits or any sponsorship deals, etc. So it's like, Holy shit, they must be fucking raking
Plus,
it
every
in.
single person on that show is like a working voice actor. Like Laura Bailey's been in like the lead voice of like every big game of the last 2 years, and she's still in that show.
Yeah, exactly. And they've got like an animated series that's come out, and it's just like fucking crazy upon crazy. Yeah, and hey, to round off that fucking crazy month, it was found out that the last Super Smash Bros. Ultimate DLC roster entry was fan favorite Sora from Kingdom Hearts, and no one gave a shit collectively. So let's just move on. November was another big month for gaming, as we saw Call of Duty Vanguard, Forza Horizon 5, Jurassic World Evolution 2, Grand Theft Auto Trilogy, that fucking train wreck, Shin Megami Tensei 5, which is like probably going to be number one on best RPGs of the year, but we don't fucking have any fucking clue. The clusterfuck that is Battlefield 2042, and Pokemon Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, which by all means is fine.
Yeah, a messy month. Yeah, I think it's fair to say. I'm glad Forza Horizon 5 delivered as well.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Is that maybe the only game technically that
I mean,
and, like taking Jurassic World out and Shin Megami Tensei, because we don't know anything about it, but
I mean, like Vanguard was a bit of a mess, and GTA and Battlefield were absolutely messes. So
yeah. And I know for a fact that people, I mean, internet people, which doesn't mean much, but they were a little bit cool on the Pokemon remakes.
Another one on the Christmas list, folks. Stay tuned for the new year. You sensing a theme here?
Yeah, but you're talking about a messy month. November was fucking all sorts of messy, as new reports allege that Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick knew about all of the company's issues and actively tried to sweep them under the rug, alongside
a couple of bodies.
A couple of bodies and death threats and private jets and the wild world of billionaires, fellas.
Oh dear.
But it definitely, that month gave me my favorite bit of gaming, my favorite game release of the year, which is fucking mental to say, because it was Elden Ring's network test. I did manage to get in, and that was legitimately the best thing I've played all year. And
the only problem is, if Elden Ring continues the trend that like every other thing has done, then that's actually going to be the entire game when it comes out. That test. That is
I see. The beta effect.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, and like over promise and under deliver. 100%. I get you entirely on that. What else? The GTA trilogy, man. What a fucking disaster.
Play-Doh people.
Just thoroughly disappointing. Again, as someone who had my eye on those games for as long as they were around. Like, I think Kotaku started to leak their existence around the summer, and I was really hoping that they would just pull them out the bag and do right by a trio of classic games. And I was in denial for a while. You can go back and watch those episodes. Not only did they do wrong by them, they did really, really wrong by them.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's one of these things.
Bummer.
It's almost like going back to Activision Blizzard when they remastered even Warcraft 3. And it's like, it's yours to fucking capitalize on. And you fucked it.
Yep. Like, fucking, this is your legacy you're taking a shit on. Like, you're pooing on yourself. Look at, like, think about this.
Like a fucking pigeon. You're shitting on your feet. But hey, with the sour.
Speaking of shitting on its feet.
With the sour comes the sweet, because we got a kind of like a shadow drop of Halo Infinite's multiplayer that released early.
That was cool, yeah.
That was fucking sick, man. That was free.
Nice surprise.
And fucking, yeah. It's fucking cool. Still play it.
Yeah. Turns out Halo is good.
Who knew?
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, Jonesy is someone who didn't. Now he does. He's seen the light.
He's fallen off. And that
I'm saying I don't know. I don't know.
No, Jonesy, you've seen the light. Oh well, yeah. As of this week, maybe you don't see the light anymore.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Well, anyway, and that brings
game-breaking bug for anyone who doesn't know.
Look to Jonesy's Twitter for more information.
Jesus Christ! I'm just trying to get to December, fellas, because it brings us up to the last month of.
Hold on. How can you miss it out? Marvel's Avengers in the big month of November drops Spider-Man, Chris. Eventually, come on. How could you just skate over that?
You see, this is what I love. You spend the last 2.5 hours of this podcast being the most fucking limp, participant
What?
to a podcast
This is
you've ever been.
outrageous.
And then all of a sudden we get to the end game and you're like, hold on, we've got to talk about Marvel Avengers and Spider-Man.
But wait, there's more. No, we can move on because Spider-Man was very underwhelming for Marvel's Avengers.
Yeah. What is interesting there is obviously Spider-Man did debut on Fortnite. And Fortnite fucking seems to have nailed the Spider-Man, whereas Marvel Avengers didn't. In fact, Halo with the grappling hook is a better fucking Spider-Man game than Spider-Man in Marvel's Avengers.
That's what makes it even more sad, is there's so much positive Spider-Man energy in the ether at the moment. The fact that Marvel's Avengers not only didn't manage to capitalize on that, but actively undercut that excitement by making something that no one gave a single shit about. I think it speaks to its entire legacy as a video game.
Yeah, well, it's like the GTA thing, right? Like it was theirs to capitalize on, and they fucked it.
Yep.
I want to say that at the time, Jamie, I'm sure that we talked about this and we said when Spider-Man releases, you can already tell that the swinging mechanic was just going to be the same mechanic utilized from Miss Marvel and a couple of the other characters.
We called it so early on.
Yeah, and it was already, you could see that all they were going to do was reskin that mechanic for his swinging, which was shite.
Yeah. There were also rumors, and again, I never fact checked them, so pinch of salt, that Insomniac basically lent animations and stuff like that to Crystal Dynamics and whatever team is now working on Marvel's Avengers to help get Spider-Man over the line. They basically, hey, copy my homework, but change it.
That's mad. And then they changed it so badly that they failed the exam.
Yeah, that was just a rumor, but yeah.
That's mental if that's true. Anyway, fellas, that leads us to December, the final month in this tumultuous year, I think it's fair to say. And we've got some big releases. We've got Solar Ash, which was the what was it? Hyperlight Drifter Studios' new game. We got Chorus, a game that Jonesy's been jumping into it.
I tucked into after Jamie was talking about the fact that he played it and he thought it was right last week, and then I took a look at it and I've quite enjoyed it. It's a fun little space sort of open world exploration-y game, and it feels quite indie. Like it's got some charm. It's got some things that could have been a little bit polished, but no, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it at the moment.
Final Fantasy 14 Endwalker expansion has come out. So popular, in fact, that Square Enix have decided to stop selling the game.
Blew my mind when I read that. I can't think of a time that's ever happened before. We made a game so popular, we're stopping selling it until we can support the number of people who want to play.
Yeah, until we can get more server capacity. Probably a big...
But that's what should happen, though, right? Like, if they're like, oh, it can't function in the way that it's supposed to function, therefore we're going to just stop taking money from people and we're going to get it right. But it's actually amazing they've done that.
Yeah, it is amazing.
But also on something that's good. And I can't tell you how frustrating it is to have like a Game of the Year contender and what some people are saying is like one of the best stories ever told in gaming, but knowing that it was told over the course of years and you're hundreds upon hundreds and hundreds of hours of MMO gameplay behind that story.
Yeah.
I'm just going to have to sit this one out, fellas.
Can I give you a little bit of a hint, Jamie?
Yeah?
Video essays on YouTube.
That's right. At 2 times speed.
Oh, maybe.
Still 6 months, you'll catch up.
Helped largely, I believe, with Asmongold kind of jumping ship over to Final Fantasy 14. Obviously, fellas, the big news, Halo Infinite single-player campaign got released, which, largely to much kind of acclaim, let's call it.
Yeah, for the most part. Depending on to which degree you experience game-breaking bugs, basically.
And
do you know what? I was
game-breaking
enjoying
webcams as well.
Oh my god, I've gone all blurry again. I was enjoying the open worldy aspect to it, and I was like, having some fun. It's not my fucking camera's completely.
It fixed just before you put your hand up again.
Yeah, but then I've got a bug which is some .dll file that Game Pass says it can't find, and I've looked online. I know a lot of people have said they've had the same problem, and it's all to do with effectively making sure that the game isn't running through, or that you're not ripping the game off or something like that, and that you haven't pirated it or something.
Right.
And the advice is just delete it, reinstall it. Tried it a couple of times and and it just keeps happening. So I've had to sack that one off.
Well, Jonesy, I can happily inform you that if you did like the open world elements of Halo Infinite, that the lead open world designer on Halo Infinite over at 343, has now left 343 to co-found Midnight Society with Dr. Disrespect. So keep an eye out for the Doc's new game, and you can maybe pick up where you left off there.
His vertical battle royale. Yeah, and obviously, fellas, December it's not done yet, so more shit can happen. Unlikely though. But Ubisoft decided to jump in the ring once more, as we mentioned, to announce Splinter Cell with a fucking job post. But yeah.
So hold on, because you've actually just revealed something to me over the we decided to do this format for the podcast and go through like all the stuff that's happened in the year, and then talking about Ubisoft and how they revealed Splinter Cell last week and saying how odd it was that they just did like a random blog post and it was like nonchalant. But now I understand why they did it, because when you talk about the amount of shit that they've been through this year and the reactions to everything they've announced has been absolute trash, I think that they just wanted to go, do you know what? It's just going to be trash. Let's just talk about it like a blog post. Let's not even, don't do a big fancy thing. Don't get people overexcited. Don't like give them any reason to hate us. Just do it as a matter of fact.
I mean,
blog post.
That's fair enough. But when X Defiant gets like a 15-minute reveal and Splinter Cell gets a 15-second teaser trailer.
They didn't want any more hate. I understand it now. It's become clear through this process of talking about what shoddy year Ubisoft have had on their announcements.
But it almost feels like Ubisoft are like looking at Activision Blizzard and saying like, we're not going to be second best. Right?
Yeah,
maybe.
But yeah, this is obviously following on from Ubisoft's, eagerness to get into the NFT game space with their announcement of Quartz, which by last counts, only 15 people bought NFTs for the fucking game.
Yikes.
Which,
you're looking at two of them, Chris.
Yeah.
Do you know what I would have done? I would have done had Quartz, the platform, been available in the UK, which it isn't, because I couldn't buy any digits. Digits were not available in
digits,
the UK.
Digits.
I'd already forgotten about that.
You know what the fucking sad thing is, fellas? Is Ubisoft are going to look at it. We think like 15. Oh, it's a dead number. They're going to cancel it. But what they're going to do is they're going to look at how many people are still playing Ghost Recon Breakpoint. And it's only about like 200 people, right? So what they're going to do is they're going to look at the percentage of people that have bought these NFTs. And they'll be like, that's a decent number. We're going to keep going with it, even though they fucking shouldn't. But yeah, I'd imagine it'd be some kind of fucking weird thing. But fellas, the last big thing of the year was obviously Jeff Keighley. You just can't get rid of him, right? It's like
what? He arrived throughout the year, but also kind of, in a weird way, delivered throughout the year.
He did.
In a year where some game publishers struggled, Keighley gave us reveals.
This is true. There's obviously a lot of hyperbole and a lot of caveats that come with those reveals, like sitting through a 3.5-hour award show.
Totally.
Or just waiting for the next day and just watching all the trailers on YouTube. But the Game Awards was a thing that had loads of kind of reveals, such as Alan Wake 2, Star Wars Eclipse, It Takes Two winning Game of the Year, and The Matrix Awakens taking center stage. Like, by all means, a decent fucking game. We also got some more Elden Ring stuff, which is a nice treat for me. But there you go.
There's something kind of funny now to me about how exciting The Matrix Awakens, idea was. Now looking at the reviews for The Matrix Resurrection, it's kind of like a bit of a
the reviews aren't that bad.
No, but they're not. No, they're not that bad. But I mean, the fact that they're not like insanely big. Do you know what I mean? It felt like The Matrix Awakens Unreal experience was like a quite central at the Game Awards. It was like a big thing. But maybe that's just because they had the stars there, so it made it a bit more. But no, but apparently the film might be very good. I haven't seen it, but I was surprised that it's not more hype than it is.
I'm sure we'll all feed back on the movie, well, depending on how our lives go in the interim, inside the next couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, hopefully, our lives and lockdown and government misgivings. There you go.
Oh well, yeah, that too.
Wait,
although again, Chris,
Boris closes everything.
We can always set sail if we need to. HBO Max is your friend.
Wow. Well, fellas, that's the best and worst of the year, but more worst than best.
Do you know who's been the best of the year? You two lovely bastards.
I was going to say
thank
us.
you for being here.
Bring
majority
here,
of the
fellas.
week.
Hey, listen.
Weeks in, weeks out.
2021 was the year that we hit triple digits.
Triple digits for what?
Numbers of podcasts.
You fucking dingus.
Oh,
Yeah.
number of podcasts.
We're over 100
sure.
now. This is 103, I think.
I was trying to think triple digits. Like, what are our views like? I know they're going down. But
To be fair, our views are in triple digits.
our views are. I was like, are we like celebrating the fact that we don't hit 1,000 views anymore? Like, what are we?
We're celebrating the fact that soon our show number is going to exceed our view account.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, as long
Those
as
are the
the,
two
as
lines
long
you
as the
never want to
Patreon
cross.
always exceeds the episode count, then
Yes.
we're good. But I thought it would probably be a good way to kind of end the podcast by just getting your guys' kind of like general overall succinct take on the year that was. Go on, Jonesy.
Oh, do you know what? This year for me is going to be marked by shortages and delays. I think that's the standout things to me. So trying to get hold of a graphics card was an absolute nightmare. Like I spent a lot of my year trying that. I spent a lot of my year listening to my friends talk about the fact they couldn't get hold of Xboxes and PlayStation 5s, and then looking at the delays from the big games, but knowing that was coming. So do you know what? I'm knowing all the bad stuff that's happened, and like I said, the delays, the hardware shortages, like COVID obviously being everywhere. The fact that the year and the video games that have come out actually haven't been that bad and have been, we've had okay months, we've had bad months, and then we've had actually good months. I think it's been an all right year for gaming, and I'm glad that the gaming industry as a whole has managed to keep on going despite all the absolute shit that's been going on behind the scenes.
So how many Jonesies out of Jonesy would you give it?
This year?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I'd give it 6 Jonesies out of 10. That's what I'd give it.
Oh,
man.
A bit for managing to keep forging ahead and keep going and getting shit done, like we've done with the podcast, even for the last 2 years in some messed up situations. 6 Jonesies out of 10. It's been all right.
fair enough. Go on, Jamie.
Yeah, I think the more optimistic slant that I would put on it is that in many respects it was the year that was set up to fail because of the things that Jonesy mentioned, because of hardware shortages, which were just innate to the global circumstances. And then subsequently you had COVID and various outbreaks and places all over the world going in and out of lockdown and companies adjusting to working from home. There were so many things actively working against the games industry that you do have to somewhat celebrate some of the smaller successes. The fact that there were a strong number of critically acclaimed games that managed to make it out in one piece. The fact that events, slowly found a way to start happening again. And by the end of the year, some of them were physical with live audiences. At the same time, I still wish more publishers had read the room on the fact that there is a lot of open-mindedness right now when it comes to, as I said, global circumstances that are affecting game development. You can bank on that and you can delay stuff. If ever there were a time you could delay stuff, it's now. And I get financials speak for themselves, but like when we get to the end of the year and we're talking about things like the GTA Trilogy or Battlefield 2042 being squeezed out because they had to end up with their names on some spreadsheet on some accountant's computer somewhere, those were the things I wish those teams and those publishers and those execs had taken the hits on, and that we'd almost all work together in a bit more unison to say, hey, this was bound to be shit for all of us, but let's make it the best we can. I think it's a bummer that there were so many stories this year of workplace toxicity, workplace abuse, following on from the Me Too movement and all that stuff last year. But again, I guess it's a bit twisted a way of looking at it. But the positive about that is that we're talking about it because it's being outed, and it's being outed because we're not accepting it anymore and we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
And I suppose that leaves me on that final note or hope of, and I know this is the fallacy that we fall for every year, which is that 2022 looks like it could be cool.
Man, yeah.
And let's just hope that we continue moving in that direction.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably what we're going to be doing in the new year, is kind of like saying like, hey, this is what we're looking forward to in 2022. And just discussing it, like, it seems like next year is going to be a fucking baller year.
Yeah, I mean, even whether you want to look at it in terms of game releases, again, the prospect of like the gaming calendar just becoming a little bit more reliable. Like, do we go to Gamescom in August of 2020? Like, of course, you just don't know. Like, COVID is a very unreliable thing to bank on at the moment. But like, those things aren't that unrealistic anymore. The game schedule is fucking stacked. depending on more delays. And companies are trying to improve, even if it took some nasty shit to come out for them to take those steps.
Yeah.
And you know what? If nothing else, we'll get another Cyberpunk patch. We're moving in the right direction.
And soon it will come to PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X.
Imagine.
In the next gen version.
With an asterisk that says maybe.
Yeah.
All right, so how many Jamies out of Jamies?
I'll say 5 Jamies out of Jamie.
Wow. Okay.
Which doesn't make sense because 5 Jamies out of 10 Jamies, I guess, really. I'm going straight down the middle.
Nice. Fair. I'd say I'm a lot less optimistic than you guys.
That's totally understandable.
Yeah. If I have to kind of keep the narrative of one person on one side of the fence, another person on the other side of the fence, and someone down the middle, I'd probably have to give it 4 Chris's out of 10 Chris's.
Okay, yeah.
I think it was a bag of dicks kind of year.
There were a lot of dicks.
10 bags of dicks out of 10 bags of dicks for this year for me. The only saving grace I feel was anything fucking Elden Ring related. Me finishing Dark Souls on stream. Like, I don't know, Psychonauts was cool, and playing Back 4 Blood with you dudes. The rest of it I could fucking leave.
That's depressing.
Yeah, it is depressing. And I'm being generous with that 4 out of 10 score. But hey,
if people want to see other things that we thought failed this year, you can always go to our Patreon and you can check out a Patreon video, the biggest failures of 2021, which is now for $5 Patreons.
To be fair, that kind of helped knock it up a bit. Is us actually getting back to 6 lists? It was kind of nice.
Like 10 patrons out of 10 patrons, I think, for the Patreon review of the year.
Hell yeah! All right, fellas. Well, that's it for the podcast for 2021. We are not going to be here between Christmas and New Year's, but there will be, that 6 list coming out. For the last time this year, fellas, what is our code word?
Oh shit! That's a big responsibility. A year-long code word.
Maybe we should ask people for their.
What if they give us a code word to describe the year?
Well, I was going to say if they give us their rating, like Jonesy's over Jonesy.
There's something blanks out of blank. Yeah. And they can use whatever word they want to use, I guess.
Yeah. Keywords, blanks out of blanks. Let us know what you felt about this. All 3 of you that made it to this just over 3-hour mark. If you have come here, thank you so much for sticking with us. We've been talking a lot of shit. We've been very low energy. That's what happens at the end of the year. But we appreciate you nonetheless. And fellas, I have to thank you not only for kind of staying awake, Jonesy barely staying awake, not only for this, but for the year that we've had. Obviously, I couldn't have done it without you. You guys couldn't have done it without me. We couldn't have done it with each other. But I'm glad to have you as hosts and friends and co-conspirators. So thank you very much for continuing the Super Show journey with me.
Here. Yeah. It's been great to have you two by my side and to have some people that you could just sit down and talk about games with once a week, because Lord knows our schedules needed that kind of that hit of sanity where you could say, oh, it's Thursday. I get to sit down and think about video games and switch off the other parts of my brain. That's incredibly useful to have. And there's no 2 people I'd rather do it with than you two. And there's no audience I'd rather share our thoughts and rants and hot takes with than our audience. So thank you to everyone who listened and watched through the year.
Hell yeah.
Definitely would have been more of a bag of dicks without you guys and without the Patreons and without the viewers. So thank you, everybody.
Hell yeah. And with that bag of dicks, thank you so much. I hope you've enjoyed your year with us as we have enjoyed our year with you. And we'll look forward to 2022 being a much better year. Maybe a bag of boobs or something.
Ooh.
Actually,
like
oh my God.
Boobs.
You've just made me really turn this whole thing on its head. Some people like dicks, Chris. Some people want the bag of dicks.
No, they don't really like the dicks. They just, they like...
I can introduce you to a couple of people, Jonesy, who would love a bag of dicks.
Well, with that bag of dicks, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you soon, next time, in the new year. I don't fucking know. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.